Hey y'all. I just created a video. I did 2 clips. One is 3 hours and change long. Warning, disclaimer, very long video this time, but I had a lot to talk about. And then the second clip is about 7 minutes long, and it was just something I realized I wanted to talk about in the initial clip, and I created it after. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 7 minute clip that was created after the 3 hour and change clip. I'm going to put that first. So you're going to hear that next, and then you're going to hear the actual video. And you'll hear me do my typical intro that I normally do once that 7 minute clip that's going to play next is over. So that 7 minute clip is me just kind of talking about body type, y'all, and, working out and something I had talked about recently. And then after that clip, you're going to hear the actual video that I created the other night or the other morning. All right, so I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Peace out. Y'all, there was one more thing that I wanted to talk about in that last video. So I'm just adding this clip on. Recently, I had started looking into body types because y'all know I'm into fitness and athletics, working out, etc. So I've been working out avidly, as I told y'all. And, in my early 20s, when I used to work out back then as well, I was looking into body type and stuff. And so this was when I first came across the term ectomorph, mesomorph, and endomorph. So I was familiar with the fact that my body type is the mesomorph body type, which apparently is the ideal body type to have. They said that's like winning the lottery or the jackpot, when you get that body type, because it's like it's easy for you to gain weight and it's also easy for you to lose weight. And so you don't have the struggle of the ectomorph, which is more so somebody that's really slender and slim and, has the fast metabolism, and it's hard for them to build muscle and gain weight. Not impossible. They can do it if they have the right diet plan and the right workout plan, but you don't have those struggles. And then you don't have the struggles of the endomorph, who's the complete opposite of the ectomorph, where they have trouble losing weight, they have the slower metabolism, and they can't eat just anything, and so they have to have more cardio in their workout, as well as, obviously having the right workout plan to get whatever their body goal is. So the mesomorph falls somewhere in between. You have more of the athletic build naturally. And so that's where I fall into. I'm a mesomorph. But also, you can be a mix of different body types. So you can be like a mesomorph with ectomorph characteristics, or an ectomorph with mesomorph characteristics, etc. And so for me, I would say I fall more so into the mesomorph category exactly. I wouldn't even say I'm a mix of anything. But I would say recently, after what happened to me last year where I lost all that weight, what happened at the beginning of last year, that I talked about in my prior videos, I would say that I'm a mesomorph with ectomorph tendencies or qualities, characteristics. Because it's not like it's been difficult for me to gain weight, but I did find that I was having to kind of take on the diet plan that an ectomorph would take on to gain weight. I had to, recently what I've been doing to gain weight, I told y'all already, I've been working out actively, weightlifting, doing progressive overload, so going heavier and heavier with my weightlifting and my squatting, etc. But I've also been making sure that my diet, is that of an ectomorph. So I'm making sure that I'm in a caloric surplus so that I can put on the pounds. I told you it's been working. I'm now 170. So I'm up here, I'm getting there, and it's cool. But I just kind of wanted to talk about that whole body type thing in the first place. I almost felt like me talking about that, it seems like it might have offended some of the gang stalkers. That's what it seemed like. And I don't know if maybe I was being insensitive when talking about the body type casting system, because that could seem offensive, like the mesomorph is the perfect body type of thing. They already like to say I'm a narcissist. But really and truly, I'm actually trying for, the thing about it is the mesomorph, even though we have the athletic build, and that's a nice thing, you can be a mix of the different body types. Mesomorphic females, although we have athletic bodies and it's nice and everything, we typically aren't as curvy as the endomorph female. Because when you hear endomorph and you hear the slow metabolism and etc., you're probably thinking of, and I don't want to be insensitive with my words, so let me be careful, but you might be thinking of somebody that's, obese or overweight, and that can be the case with endomorphs. But a lot of endomorphs are nice shaped people, you know. It just depends on what type of endomorph you are, because there are different types. Like, for instance, Beyonce is a mesomorph. You see how curvy she is? As a matter of fact, I believe she's a mix of mesomorph and endomorph. But like the more curvaceous type of female, they usually fall in the category of endomorph. And some of them are mixes of endomorph and mesomorph. And so for me, I'm more so exactly mesomorph. I wouldn't say I'm straight up and down. You know, I do have curves. I've always had hips, had a little booty, you know, but for the most part, what I enjoy about being a mesomorph is my athletic build. So I've always been toned, and you can see my muscles and stuff. But I wanted to be more curvy. And so I find that I'm working out to kind of structure my build more like that of a female with an endomorph body type. So that's not a bad thing if you're an endomorph, you know? So everybody has their own goals for what they want as far as their aesthetic goes. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have the best body just because you're a mesomorph. So I did want to kind of say, you know, I apologize if me talking about these body types came across as offensive, because I wasn't trying to offend anyone, and everybody is beautiful just the way they are. And it doesn't matter what your body type is. Like I said, whatever your fitness goal is or your aesthetic that you're going for, you can get it. As long as you have the right diet plan, the right workout plan, it doesn't matter what your body type is. You can get the kind of body you want. And so that's what's cool. It's just good to know your body type so you can know how you should eat, what your diet should be, and how you should work out so you can get whatever your body goal aesthetic is. Anyway, so I just wanted to talk about that, y'all. I mentioned that in this video, like, you know, because I wasn't trying to offend anybody when I was talking about the body type thing. Because even though I'm a mesomorph and, like I said, I like the athletic build, I am actually working out to have more of the endomorph, the shapely endomorph female body type, you know, make myself a little bit more curvy. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been working out to build those curves, you know, and accentuate the curves that I already have. And so that's what it is for me. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about that and add that into the video. And I'll talk to you on the next one. Peace out. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sharifa, and my poetry name is New Lily. If you're new to my channel, please check out the links in the description box and the comment section. And in those locations, you'll find an identical set of links that link to videos that share pertinent information for targeted individuals. Information that talks about technology utilized on targets, information that talks about tactics utilized on targets, and just information in general about the targeted individual program. Before I continue, y'all, let me make sure I'm recording, because I just sat here for about 15 minutes doing this intro just to realize that the video stopped recording. I'm on my new phone now, y'all. Those of you that have been subscribed, I did get a new phone finally. So I'm just trying to get the hang of using it, especially this new recorder app that I'm using, because I'm now on iPhone rather than Android. So this is a new recorder app that I'm using. I was using it at the beginning of last year when I had an iPhone. That phone that got destroyed, for those of y'all that have really been rocking with me for a while. That phone that got destroyed, that iPhone I had at the beginning of last year. But it's been like months since I've used this app, and so I'm just trying to get acclimated to using it again. So let me come out and make sure I'm still recording. Okay, I am. So I'm not really sure what made it stop recording. Let me just go into my settings. I should have done this before, y'all. Let me see if I can pause it while I do this. I don't think I have that option. Anyway, y'all, I'm going to go over to settings real quick and just try to set it so that my phone screen doesn't turn off because of inactivity. Because although I'm speaking, I'm not actually doing something physically on the phone. And so I think that made the screen shut off, because I realized I was talking. When I looked at the screen had come off. I turned it on, and that was when I realized the video stopped. So let me just real quickly, y'all, see if I can get the screen to stay on longer. What I'm looking for, y'all, is that option where you can, because I just did that with the iPad I was using these last 2 weeks, where you can keep the screen on and you can set how long it stays on before it shuts off from inactivity. That's what I'm looking for right now, and I don't see that option. Not trying to take up too much time doing this either, because there's so much to talk about, y'all. And I don't want this video to be too long. I'm going to try my best to keep it under 2 hours. I really am. But this is just taking up more time than I need it to. I would think it would be not control center, display and brightness. Auto lock. Here we go. I found it. Okay. Y'all, my goodness. So, and I'll switch that back when I'm finished with this video. Anyway, y'all, so I just did this whole intro, like I said, and so now I'm feeling drained. I was already feeling drained about making the video, to be quite real with y'all. I'm at work right now. I told y'all for now I'm doing security at the moment, and I do night shift, for those of you that have been subscribed. So I'm exhausted, as usual, but not just that, it's just like it's draining making these videos in general. It doesn't even matter if I'm at work. It doesn't matter what time it is. It's draining. It's it's therapy. Like, it's a relief being able to talk about some of the things that's happening and document and share my take on things. But at the same time, it's exhausting sitting here and having to rehash things, first of all, document, and just talk for hours, because that's typically what happens when I make these videos, because so much happens, y'all, always. And those of you that are targeted, you know what I'm talking about. It's like constantly something's going on. So it's just like, it's another one of those moments where I'm feeling like 50-50, like part of me like, yes, this is a relief being able to talk about these things I wanted to talk about. But at the same time, the other part of me was like, I don't feel like doing this. Like, I procrastinated, y'all. I've been here since 11. My shift starts at 11. As you can see at the top, it's 1:42 a.m. So I sat and I procrastinated. Then I finally, a little while ago, started the video, got the energy to do it, pushed myself, and then the video cut off after I did this really nice intro. So I'm just like, it discouraged me even more. And then also, of course, noise campaigns in the background. I always have a live audience. So and then flying insects in my face and stuff, insect drones. That's also part of the info in the comment and description box, y'all, those of you that are new to the channel. Like I said, I share pertinent information for targets in those areas and about the technology, tactics used, etc. And some of the technology info that's shared is how they surveil you 24/7. They use something called insect drones. And these drones look like real insects. Some of them are real insects. I shared a video from the military where they're talking about these drones. Some of them, they're doing some sort of experimental thing where, similar to how they microchip you with the RFID chip to neuromonitor you, they microchip these insects at the pupa stage with little probes so that they can control them. And so you're seeing real insects being utilized, but then some of them are mechanical and not real insects, but you can't even tell the difference anyways. To the naked eye, it would still look like a real insect. So they all look real, y'all. It looks like real insects, and a lot of targets don't know that this is how they're surveilled. It took me years to discover that. Years. I've been targeted since 2020, y'all. Those of you that are familiar, you know what I'm talking about. And I didn't learn I was a target until towards the end of 2022. And at the very end of 2022 was when I learned about the insect drones that had been being used to surveil me for the last 2 years, since 2020. And now obviously we're in 2024, so it's been 3 years and change now. And so for about a year and change, I've been aware of these insect drones. And because I talked about it in my videos, and because I figured it out, they're very blatant with the use of these things. Like, they fly it in my face sometimes, I've talked about this in prior videos. Those of you that have been subscribed, you know what I'm talking about. To antagonize me, sometimes they'll fly it around while I'm using the toilet, like this humiliation type thing. It's terrible, y'all. But they have a lot of technology when it comes to this, right? And even if you're not targeted and you're new to my channel, or you're not new and you're just a subscriber, because I do have subscribers from the natural hair community as well. I started this YouTube channel years ago in my early 20s. I had a couple videos that I posted, but my first lock journey that I started, And I took those videos down. I had like 2 or 3 videos up. And when I combed the locks out, I decided to take the videos down. But I still do have those subscribers from back then as well. So I'm sure if you're somebody from that community and you're seeing some of this new content I've been posting, you're probably like, what the hell is she talking about? And it's not relevant to you at the moment because it doesn't directly affect you. But you need to understand that it is relevant to you, because just the understanding that this technology exists in the world that you're living in is a big deal. This technology is very scary, and it's gearing up. It's being used on more and more people. And so even if you're not a part of the targeted individual community, it is still good to be aware of what's happening in the world you live in, because there's a lot of scary stuff going on and stuff that I had no clue about until I became targeted. And that's how it is. A lot of people, if they're not directly affected by this technology, meaning you're not a target or a gang stalker, then you wouldn't really care about the technology at the moment because it's not directly affecting you. But it is. Similar to global warming, it might not be directly affecting you right now, but eventually it will have an effect on the whole world, which is going to affect you. So that's something to take into consideration. Learn about this stuff. If you're new to my channel and you don't know what's going on and this sounds like foreign info to you, check out the links in my description box and my comment section and educate yourself on what's going on in the world you live in, because there's a lot of technology, y'all, and we're living in some really high science advanced times. They're microchipping people with RFID chips without our consent, and it's really scary. Anyway, y'all, I sat there, like I said, and I did this whole intro, and so I'm kind of feeling like about it, but let me just hurry up and get through. So if you're new, I'm not sure if I said this already or not, y'all. Saying it again if I did, and I apologize if I'm repeating myself. There are 3 video links. So aside from the links that shares information about the technology utilized on targets and info for targeted individuals, there are also links to videos that tell how I became targeted at the top of all of the links, right? And I have 3 different video options that you can check out to hear my story. One is a full story video option where I sat on camera for 12 hours just about. It's a 7-part video compilation, y'all, so I didn't sit there like a nut for 12 hours talking straight. What I did was I sat down at different times and I did like a 7-part video compilation. I'm wearing the same dress, but that wasn't all done in one sitting. I definitely purposely put back on the same dress so that it would be uniform as I did the video. But that's 7 different times that I sat there and I recorded, and then I put the videos together in one compilation that equated to 12 hours of content. But what it is, I've been through some gnarly stuff since my early 20s, some strange stuff. And these things all preceded my targeting that started in 2020. And so I sat there in the full story and I just told my whole story. Everything that I've been through since my early 20s up until now, age 32. So that's one option. I would recommend you watch it if you want to know about everything as it pertains to my story, because there's a lot of things I talk about and I reference in these newer videos that if you haven't watched my full story, you might not be familiar with what's going on. So that's why I said, if you have the time, please check it out. It's an interesting story. Of course, you wouldn't take my word for it because it's my story. Of course, I'd say that. That sounds biased or subjective. But I'm telling you, it's an interesting story. I can be objective in the situation. It's an interesting story. And I've gotten feedback from different people that have actually sat there, took the time and watched it. So just watch it in parts, y'all. Take your time. It doesn't matter how long it takes you. Just every now and then you could take a sit down and listen to the story until you hear the whole thing. But if you don't have time or the patience, or at least not the time right now, to watch the whole full story, you can check out my other 2 video links that talk about what started my targeting. The second video link I like to recommend is my commentating over a clip video. And in that commentating over a clip video, I created that about 3 months ago, y'all. At this point now, it's probably been like 4 months ago. I just went into my full story. I fast forwarded to the part where I talked about what started my targeting, and I did a screen recording of that portion of the video. And I provided commentary over that portion of the video, expounding on some of the things that I talked about. Just giving more details, going into more detail about some of those things I talked about that I felt like I needed to provide more commentary on. And that was created, like I said, about 3 to 4 months ago. So that's a lot shorter than the full story, y'all. You're not hearing everything. It does negate some of the backdrop, but you're hearing the main thing. You're hearing what started my targeting in 2020. And, you do hear some of the backdrop story. It's about 3 hours long, that video. The third video option, y'all, and this is the one I least recommend, is my summary video. And the summary video is about the same length as the commentating over a clip video. As similar to that video, you're really more so just hearing what started my targeting. I summarize what started my targeting, and I briefly mention the backdrop story. The only reason I recommend the commentating over a clip video more than the summary is because it's more up to date. I created it, like I said, a few months ago, whereas the summary was like more so towards the beginning. I wouldn't say the beginning, but like midway through last year. And the commentating over a clip video was towards the end of last year when I created it. So you're just hearing more details. A summarized version of the story, but more detailed with the commentating over a clip. So you can check out the summary as well, if that's what you feel like watching instead. Any one of those 3 videos, you can watch and hear my story. But again, I would recommend the commentating over a clip video over the summary video, if you're not going to watch the full story. And anyways, y'all, just check out all of my videos if you're new to my channel, because there's so much info on my channel. I've sat there and created all these different videos, not only documenting what I've gone through and have been going through, but also information that I've learned and continue to learn about the program from my own experience and research, etc. Info about the technology, like I said, utilized on targets. Information about the tactics utilized on targets. Countermeasures you can use to counteract what's being done. So check it out, y'all. It's a bunch of info on my channel. And a lot of those videos, I put the link to them in the comment section in the description box, so you don't have to look and sift through. You can just check out the comment section and find the important links. There's important info. All of my videos are important. But I put, for me, what I felt was more what took precedence over the others and what could really help targets out. I put the links to those videos in my comment section and my description box. Anyways, y'all, woo-saw. Done with the intro, my God. For those of you that aren't new, welcome back. This is another video. Another long-ass video, y'all. I can tell it's going to be a long one because I took so many notes. Those of you that have been subscribed, you know that I haven't had a phone for the last 2 weeks. And I was using an iPad. And so I haven't been making videos, not the way that I was, where I was pumping up videos every other day because constantly something was happening. It's like I took a little hiatus is what it would seem like. But that wasn't by choice. It was because I didn't have a phone. So constantly I was writing notes about things I wanted to talk about when I got a phone again. And so I have so much to talk about in this video, in addition to stuff that happened today. So it's I have so much to talk about in this video, and I don't want it to be too long. I've been telling y'all that the goal has been recently to try not to make my videos be any longer than really an hour and a half, to be quite real. But realistically, knowing all that I have to talk about for this video, I'm shooting for under 2 hours is what I'm shooting for. So I'm going to try to very briefly talk about the things that I have listed because there's so much to talk about, and talk about what happened today. And again, y'all, I'm not going to keep, I keep saying that too. I keep saying I'm not going to keep saying this, and I keep saying that. But again, I'm trying not to do these videos, y'all. I'm trying to steer away from the targeted individual content. I really am. But constantly I'm feeling like I have to document, constantly stuff is happening. And if you're targeted, you can relate. I know you can empathize. I know you know what that feels like. And documentation is one of the best countermeasures to this program. So this is why I do it, and this is why I constantly am making videos talking about this stuff. Because I'd rather just make workout videos, y'all, or natural health videos, or natural hair videos, or career update videos, or telling you guys about trying to learn how to become a developer, stuff like that. Not talking about this negative ass, crazy ass program, but it's just it's what's going on in my life right now. This is the current state of my life at the moment. I emphasize at the moment. And so I feel the need to record for my protection, and this is the way that I can counteract what's going on. Oh, now they're flying the insect drone in my face, y'all. It's ridiculous. Anyway, so let me just talk about what's going on, y'all. Let me see something, because I want to come out of this app. I wanted to have my picture in the backdrop while I do the video, right? But before, that's what I was doing, and for some reason the video stopped. Okay, it seems to be good now. Seems to still be going. But let me just go over and show you all the notes that I have listed, right, about the things that I want to talk about. Look at all of this. So much. And then too, I want to document what happened today. So it's just like, this is why I said I'm going to try my hardest to make this video not be any longer than 2 hours. Let me see what time it is right now. It's 1:55. Okay. Whew. All right, so let's talk about what happened today, y'all. I almost feel like that should be at the end of the video because that's the most recent thing. Excuse me, I don't know if they're making me choke, y'all. Remember with the neuromonitoring, and I've showed y'all videos of the capabilities of this technology. They can control your bodily functions. They can control your movements. They can control just about anything with this technology. They can push thoughts in your head, you know, anything they want to do, really, just about anything once you're microchipped. So anytime I'm making these videos and weird stuff starts happening, I don't want to, like, you know how I told y'all, those of you that have been subscribed at least. If you haven't been, please don't even watch this video. I'm sure you sat through the intro if you're new to my channel. I'll tell you to stop here now and check out my story and some of the videos I've shared, especially the more recent ones, before listening to any of my newer videos, because you will be lost. You're not going to really know what I'm talking about. But those of you that have been subscribed, you know what I'm talking about. I've showed y'all that the capabilities they have with this technology. You know, that's part of some of the videos that I have in the description box. Evidence of mind control technology, talking about the capabilities of the technology. I have a video posted titled Diagram of Neuromonitoring Effects on Targeted Individuals, where I shared a diagram that was released at a Freedom of Speech press conference from DARPA, the creators of this technology, where you could see a display of the capabilities that this technology has when it's in your body. You know, they can control your mind. They can push thoughts in your head. They can control your body. They can control your bodily functions. You know, all kinds of crazy, scary stuff, y'all. So anytime I'm making these videos and I feel something weird happening, it's like I don't want to like off-rip, bear false witness and accuse and say that they're doing it. And again, this is what I was saying and I went off on a tangent. If you're new, please check out my prior video so you can understand why I keep mentioning or referencing bearing false witness. This is the first time I'm mentioning it in this video, but in many of my videos, you'll hear me referencing the fact that I don't want to bear false witness, because bearing false witness plays a contentious role in my targeting. So I try very hard not to do it. And then it's kind of hard not to with this program, because unfortunately, the tactics used, the technology, etc., the covert harassment, are all intangible forms of torture, all intangible forms of harassment. So it's not anything that you can concretely prove, although it's obvious what's going on. And so it's this kind of way where it's like you're kind of forced to bear false witness in a way when you're talking about this thing. So it's complicated, y'all. Excuse me. Sorry about that, y'all. I just ate pizza and I had some cheesecake. And it's the wee hours of the morning. Like I told you, I'm here at work doing security. Anyways, so anytime I feel weird stuff happening when I'm making these videos, I don't like off-rip on the accuse, but I know that it could possibly be them messing with me. I know that that's a possibility. Oh, now I'm hearing the hum, y'all. The Havana syndrome hum I've talked about in prior videos. That's one of the tactics utilized on targets. It's like this high-pitched frequency energy weapon that's utilized on targets, and it can cause, you know, upset stomach, headache, disorientation, you know, just irritation in general, mood change, all this stuff that I learned when I looked it up. You know, I looked up information about it. And right now it's not really affecting how I feel, but it's irritating my ear. And my throat did just start to feel like scratchy out of nowhere. So this is why I started talking about that. Anyway, y'all, let me stop going off on a tangent. Let me continue. So I almost feel like I want to go to the notes and just go from there and then build up to talking about today. But today is fresh in my mind. And so I feel like I should talk about what happened today and then just rewind and go to the notes and tell y'all what's gone on for the last 2 weeks, since I haven't had a phone and been able to record. So today, y'all, oh my God, it was like adventure time. Again, it always feels like that when I leave the house as a target. But I left out with somebody in my close circle. And I have to be careful, y'all, because when I talk about people in my close circle in these videos, it's very risky. You know, I run the risk of, you know, possibly, you know, getting in problems, you know, including like living situation and everything. So although I want to talk about what's happening, I feel like I should have the right to do so. It's this kind of way where if I'm not careful, I could end up in problems. So I want to talk about what happened today, but tread lightly. So for the first time in a while, I went out on the road with someone in my close circle. You know, typically I haven't had to do that recently because they've been loaning me their car. You know, before they weren't loaning me the car, and they recently, like I want to say in the last 2 to 3 months, have been loaning me their car. So it hasn't been this kind of way where I have to ride in the car with them as much as before. So this has been the first time in a while that I rode in the car with someone in my close circle, right? And it was normal at first, right? So what happened is I worked last night and I got up this morning. I'm saying got up like I went to bed. I worked. It wasn't this got up. I worked last night. I worked the night shift. And so when I got off this morning, I went home. I did my hair. I had some deep conditioning and stuff to do. I dyed my hair, washed my clothes. I set up my clothes so that I could wash it. And my plan was to go to the laundry. I got so tired, y'all. I'd asked to borrow the car. And, once I finished washing and doing my hair, I was so exhausted when I laid on that bed and I ate my cereal that I ended up just like closing my eyes, and hours ended up passing before I got up to go to the laundry. By the time I got up, one of the people in my close circle who was loaning me her car, she wanted to go get food. So I was just noticing it was getting dark. It was getting later. I had to work tonight. Here I am at work right now, y'all. And so I was like, well, let me come with you, because in my head I was like, well, I could throw the clothes in while she's getting the food. And I want to get food too, is what I was thinking. So I was like, well, let me just come with you. And so she said, okay, right? And so after she came, she's getting up now to go with me. Oh, something happened before that though, y'all. This was the start of, I guess you could say, the friction. So what happened is while I was in the bathroom doing my hair, right? Now here they're chirping. This is why I want to talk about it, because I know how this program works. And right now you have to understand I'm villain. So even if I'm right, and I'm not really the villain, y'all, I'm using that term lightly. I'm just talking about in terms of perception, because it doesn't matter whether that's true or not. If that's their perception, in their reality, I'm the villain, even though it's not true. So I'm just saying that I'm villain, air quotes, right? So I understand right now, to the majority, I'm villain. So it doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong in a situation, I'm always wrong. Understand that. And that's typically how it is for most targets. Unfortunately, when you get targeted, even if you are right in a situation, off rip, you're wrong. And that's why I do these videos, because they will gaslight and go with whatever until I do my videos and I bust it down. And this is why I do my videos. And it's so exhausting too, because I'll be like so tired, and like it's so tired having to advocate for yourself all the time. I'm so used to being a private person and not having people in my space, in my business, and just living my life and just minding my business. And it's like all these people in your business, you have no choice or option about it. They're just there in your business and judging you and inserting their unwanted opinion. And oftentimes they're wrong, completely wrong. And it's like constantly you're having to defend yourself. And as an introvert and a private person, the way that I am, it's draining, y'all. I feel like I'm on E all the time. Like I feel like I'm never charged, because it's constantly like I never have that charge time. Like if you look on Facebook and you see those posts about introverts and extroverts, or even if you just go on Google, right, and you type in introvert versus extrovert, you'll see that it says that extroverts get charged up, figuratively speaking, of course, when they're around people, and introverts get charged up when we have alone time. If you're targeted, you never have alone time. Even when you're sitting alone, you are not alone. And so it's like you're constantly on E as an introverted target. Like there's no moment where you get to truly charge up. And prior to me leaving Island, y'all, as bad as my targeting had gotten, it wasn't like this. It was nothing like this. And I did have moments of alone time sometimes in my vehicle where I could at least peel away from the shit for a little bit. It's so different now, y'all. I don't have a car. The surveillance is amped up to the highest degree. I don't get that charge time. And it's so freaking frustrating and irritating. Heard a big loud thing on the road now, right? I don't even know if the video's picking up on it. Anyway, exhibit A of what I'm talking about. Anyway, y'all. So it's just frustrating. Like constantly having people in your business when you're not that type of person and you're not used to that. To be thrown into that type of like environment and that type of scenario is just so irritating. Anyway, so let me talk about what happened, because the reason I started going off on that little mini rant right there is because as soon as I started talking about what started the friction, I started hearing the noise in the tree. And this is always how it is until I break it down and I talk about it. It's just always how it is, because automatically I'm wrong as target. Anyway, so basically what happened is the cup has been clogging up, right? Since Friday, actually. I mean, I say yesterday because yesterday, technically, it's after 12 now. Yesterday was when the incident occurred. And the crazy part about it is they're watching me on camera So I know they know what I'm saying is true. This is what's ludicrous to me. This is what's madness to me. I don't understand that. It's madness. They're watching me on camera. I know they know what I'm saying is true. It's wild. Anyway, so not yesterday, because yesterday was when the incident actually occurred. Day before yesterday was when I noticed that the tub was seeming clogged up. I almost want to say day before that, but I wasn't taking note of it because I didn't know it would be an incident that I would get blamed for. So I didn't really take note of when it truly started. But it definitely had started at least the day before I actually washed my hair, right? And so I knew when I was going in there that the tub was having an issue. So I went in there and I knocked on the room door for the person in my close circle. And she has like this little tool that you can put down in the tub or the sink if it gets clogged up. You know that tool that has like the little spiky things coming out of it that can connect to hair and pull it out, or whatever it is that's clogging up the tub? That's what they have, right? And so I knocked and I was asking her for it. And she told me, she said, "Did you really wake me up for that?" She was knocked out sleeping, right? And I didn't want to wake her up, but I know how it is when you wash your hair. Hair is going to go down the drain. That's just how it is, realistically. It doesn't matter how much you try to pick up the hair and throw it in the garbage. If you're going there to do hair, especially if you're dyeing hair and weave, because I was putting in weave too. Ain't no shame in my game. I told y'all already in recent videos, not recent, actually older videos from last year, and actually some of those videos got deleted too. Some of those videos where I talked about my natural hair, one in particular, were amongst those videos that got deleted last year when those videos got deleted for me. If you're new to my channel, you shouldn't even still be watching. If you're new, remember what I told y'all, go check out my story and my prior videos first. But if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, you can scroll down, in my videos and go to the video that says update. And the thumbnail is a white screen with red letters that say update. And in that video, I talk about what happened and how some of my prior videos where I was actually on camera got deleted. Because right now, y'all, at the moment, I'm only on camera for 3 videos. I'm on camera for my full story because I was able to access a laptop with a computer for that one. I'm on camera for my commentating over a clip video because remember I told you I took a screen recording from my full story of the part that talked about what started my targeting. So on camera for that as well. And then I'm on camera for that video I posted about 3 months ago. We're in March now, about 3 months ago, December, for my birthday. That video that short 5-minute video I posted where I showed y'all 3 video clips of my body. I just gave y'all basically just like an update on what was going on with my workout journey. And I showed y'all what I was looking like. So those are the 3 videos I'm on camera for, and that's it for now. I do have a phone now, and the camera quality is pretty good. So maybe you'll see some more videos with me on camera. But really what I'm waiting for is to get a laptop so I can start making videos with me on camera again. You will definitely soon be getting another workout update though. So I'll do another, similar video to what I did 3 months ago. But for now, y'all, at the moment, I'm only on camera for 3 videos. And before, those of you that have been rocking with me since the end of 2022 or the beginning of last year, you know what I'm talking about. I was on camera for all of my videos. I had so many videos, y'all, with me on camera. And all of them got deleted because the computer I had been using for someone in my close circle got confiscated. I hadn't signed out of my YouTube. And so she went into my YouTube and deleted my videos. So that's what's going on with that, y'all. That's why you haven't been seeing me on camera like that. But, before those videos got deleted, I did have a natural hair video where I was on camera and I was giving y'all an update about my natural hair. And I was talking about why I cut it. Because I cut so much of my hair off last year, y'all. About a year ago. It was actually exactly a year ago, March of last year. It was either March or April of last year. I chopped off 5 to 7 inches of my hair, maybe more, because I had a bunch of heat damage. And so I did this big, you could say almost like a big chop, because I chopped so much of it off. But I left a little mini fro. And so I'm still going through the process of growing my hair back. It's gotten a lot longer, but still growing it out. And so I'm throwing in the weave, and I don't need to give an explanation because even when my hair is long, I wear weave. I'm going to keep it real with you. I like throwing in weave as a protective style. So sometimes I just want to braid my hair up and give it a break, and I'll throw some weave in, I'll throw some braids in, whatever. But I've really been rocking the weave, y'all, and just kind of, let my hair catch back. And so that's what I was doing today. I was dyeing the weave and I was dyeing my hair. And you know how that is. For those of you that are familiar with natural hair, it's a process, first of all, and also, second of all, it can be messy. Natural hair sheds and weave definitely sheds. And so these are the things that you take into consideration when you're going in the tub and you're dealing with that, right? Because that could clog up your drain if you're not careful. And so I already knew that tub was clogging since, like I said, the day prior to me doing it. So prior to yesterday, and I think even the day before that, the tub was clogging. And I know they saw it too because they're watching me on camera. So this is what's ludicrous to me, why this person in my close circle would argue with me when this is all being recorded. It's like, just check back the recordings, because they do have recordings from what I understand with these live feeds. So why not just check back the recording instead of sitting here and arguing with me? That's silly. This is why I didn't even bother to argue back. And then also to this person in my close circle, when she argues, she gets really loud and she screams, and I'm not that kind of person. I don't like getting loud, and I don't like arguing, and it drains me. And so I just quickly be like, okay, you're right, and just, leave me, like, I don't want to keep arguing. I can't take it. So anyways, like I said, at least the day prior, I do recall being in there and complaining about the fact that the thing was filling up. And I was stepping out 1 foot at a time and rinsing my foot off with the soap because I have OCD about that, the drain filling up, right? And I know this was all on camera. I know they saw this, right? So anyway, yesterday before I went in there, I remembered that the clog was drained. So I knocked on the door and I had to wake her up. She was sleeping, the person in my close circle. And I was asking her for that thing that I was just mentioning, that tool that you can stick down in the drain to pull here and whatever it is that's clogging up the drain. You can stick it down and pull that stuff out, and it has like the little spiky stuff on it. And so I woke her up. I was like, hey, you so-and-so, trying to wake her up to ask her. And she said, did you really wake me up? I told you not to wake me, because she complains when I come in on the morning on the weekends and I wake her up in the morning if I have to ask her a question or something, and she's told me not to do it before. But I knew it would be an issue if I didn't do it, and I knew that the tub was clogging, and I went in there on top of the clog to wash my hair and stuff. I knew it would be a problem, and it was a problem. So anyways, I because you're gonna hear what happened, right? So she was complaining with me for trying to wake her up, and she said, I don't know, check underneath the sink. I said, okay. So I came out the room from her and I checked underneath the sink and I didn't see it. So then I went out there and I asked the other close person in my circle if he knew where it was. And he told me no, he didn't know where it was. So what I did find was like this plunger type thing underneath the sink that you can use to unclog drains. And I remember trying to use that. And this is to tell you that the water hadn't already filled up. Because later as the argument happened, she was trying to tell me I had already washed my hair when I asked her, and that wasn't the case. Because the thing wasn't even filled up. It was to the point where I actually turned on the water to try to get it to fill up so that I could plunge and see if that would unclog the thing. And it wasn't filling up enough. It wasn't filling up. And I said, this isn't working. I was trying to get it to fill up enough so that I could try to plunge the drain, and it wasn't filling up enough. So I said, you know what, this isn't working. I said, oh well. And I turned off the sink. I put the plunger underneath the sink, and I went into washing my hair and stuff, right? So that I could get my hair dyed and dye my weave. So anyways, after doing that, definitely did shed my hair and the weave and all that. And it definitely clogged things up worse than it already was clogged. So it was really bad, and I didn't know what to do about it. I had plans to clean the hair out. I always do. They're watching me like a hawk, y'all. One thing about me, when I go in there in that bathroom and I dye my hair, wash my hair, anything, I don't even dye my hair that often, y'all. Literally, this is the second time I've dyed my hair in the span of 2 weeks. And the only reason I did it so in such close proximity is because the first dye didn't turn out the way I wanted. I didn't buy the correct dye. I bought natural black. I know this is a TMI. But I didn't buy the correct dye, and I didn't like how it came out. So I went and I bought another dye. I got jet black this time, and I tried it again. But I haven't dyed my hair, prior to these last 2 times that I did it. I haven't dyed my hair in years, y'all. It's been about 2 to 3 years since I dyed my hair. It's been a while. So I said, let me try something different. I just wanted to get more of that jet black look. Because I do have dark hair, y'all. Dark brown hair. But I like that jet black look. Sometimes you want to do something different. So that's what I wanted to do. So that's what I was doing. And it shed a lot. It shed all up in the tub and stuff. And it was really bad. What was already a clog and what was already causing the tub to back up just made it worse. It was really bad. And so for me, I'm like, I know I'm going to clean it up. I always do. They've been watching me for years, y'all, at this point. Remember, I told you I've been targeted since 2020. Even in the old house, in the old neighborhood we used to live in, when I would use the bathroom, I would always take the broom and sweep the floor. I would clean the sink. I would clean out the tub. They're watching. They know what I'm saying is true. So for the actions that took place today to happen, I didn't really understand where it was coming from. And it almost felt like this kind of way where, when somebody's mad at you, and so they complain about stuff that they're not really upset about. They really just want to crow at you. That's what it felt like was happening today. Anyway, so So the bathroom was a mess when I was through because I was dyeing my hair. There was hair shedding everywhere. The tub was super filled up. It had already been filled up from before. It had already been clogging, but it was much worse after me doing my hair. It was a hot mess, right? And I wasn't done with it either. I was not finished with the bathroom. The person in my close circle says she needs to use the bathroom. I said, I'm not done yet. I said, the floor is wet. She said, well, I have to pee. I said, okay, because I know she's going to complain. I didn't mop the floor yet. I hadn't cleaned in there yet. My intention, first of all, was to mop the floor, of course, and clean the hair out of the tub. And then I was going to go and purchase Clorox at the laundry because I had to go to the laundry anyway to wash my clothes. And I was going to come back and scrub the dye off of the sink and stuff. I knew I hadn't cleaned the bathroom yet. I wasn't done with it. But she said she needed to pee and she has to get in there and pee. I said, okay, no problem. I didn't want her to pee herself. I said, just know the floor is wet. I said, I haven't cleaned in there yet. She said, okay, I'm going to pee myself. I said, okay. So she goes in the bathroom to pee and she realizes that the floor is soaking wet. So she comes out and she's complaining and she's complaining and she's complaining and she's crowing about the floor being soaking wet. And she said, why isn't there like that? You're the only one that makes in hair soaking wet like that. I'm like, that is absolutely not true. There's so many times that I have gone in after someone else in my close circle. Of course, I'm not going to mention relationships where the floor was soaking wet or even mud tracks on the floor. And I just mop it up. I don't say anything. I just mop it up and I don't complain. It's not a big deal. I just mop it up and I don't complain. But I'm certainly not the only person to have wet the floor in there. I'm like, what are you talking about? Definitely that's not true. But I'm like, okay, I'm not going to sit here and argue about it. This is something that you're upset about right now. That's fine, right? Hold on, y'all. Of course, somebody with a big bright light driving by to antagonize. Listen to this. Yeah, I just had to let that person get by, right? So somebody's speeding by with a big loud truck, right? And music blasting from it as soon as I mention that, right? Again, trying to antagonize. I'm going to tell my story and nobody will shut me up. Because just because you have your own personal grudge against me and you want to purposely push a false narrative and you want to purposely malign me, even in a situation where you see I'm right, just because you're holding a grudge, that's your problem. I'm going to tell my story. I'm not stupid and I can't be bamboozled or befuddled. I know what's going on. You don't like me as a person. And so even though I'm right in the situation, you're always going to paint it like I'm wrong. I'm not dumb. So I'm still going to tell my story and I'm still going to stand 10 toes down. Anyway, so like I was saying, y'all, many times I've gone in there after several people in there that have used the bathroom and the floor has been soaking wet with mud prints and I've just mopped it and I know they've seen it too, whether they acknowledge it or not. And I just mop it and I go about my business and I don't get upset, right? So I'm just like, I know I'm not the only person that does this. I'm like, what are you talking about? But I definitely wasn't about to sit there and argue with her. I just said, okay. I said, I'm planning to mop it. And she said, but why is it so wet? You're the only one that does it. She said, in the tub, wasn't clogged. And, she's complaining about the tub and just going off and off about the tub. And I said, well, do you remember I woke you up and I asked you for the thing to unclog the tub? And she said, but you did this. It's your hair that clogged it. I said, no, it's not. I said, the tub was clogged from before and I knew that. And that's why I didn't want to go in there and wash my hair without unclogging it because I knew it was going to get worse. She's arguing with me up and down and screaming. And the way this person argues, this person in my close circle, when she argues, she screams. And she's been like that since childhood, by the way. It's like, it's not just a me thing. It's just more frustrating because what's going on in my situation now. But that's just how she is when she argues. Like, she screams, and it's like when she thinks she's right, that's it. Like, this is something we've all argued with her about. Like, it's like a running joke in our household. Like, whenever she feels like she's right about something, even if she's like completely wrong, she won't acknowledge it. Like, she will just go and go and go, and she screams too when the argument is happening. So it's just like, I'm like, okay, and that's what was going on. She's like screaming, and so I'm just like, okay, I didn't feel like the argument. I knew I was planning to clean in there, so I was just like, okay, whatever. So she's just screaming and going off about, the fact how the bathroom is looking and, talking about the fact that I'm the one who clogged it. I'm like, no, I definitely did make it worse though with my hair, but I'm not the one who clogged it. And so she's just going on about, yes, I did. And when I asked for the thing, I had already washed my hair. I said, no, I didn't. I said, the whole reason I asked you for the thing is because I knew the thing was clogging and I knew it was going to get worse once I washed my hair. And so the argument just ensued, y'all, and it just kept going on and on. I was just like, okay, I just let it happen. I went to lie down. I didn't feel like arguing. So she stayed in there and she decided to clean the bathroom. I didn't tell her to do that. I was going to clean it. I always clean after myself when I do my hair in there. That's one thing about me. I never leave in there a mess. The only complaint that is had about me in that bathroom is the fact that I leave turmeric smears, like stains, on the sink, because I like to make a face mask, and I like to put moringa in it, and I like to put turmeric in it, and I like to put matcha powder in it, and I like to put all of those ingredients that can stain. And those ingredients help to take infection off of the skin and help with, acne and whatever else, clear skin and discoloration, whatever, right? And so this is why I throw that mask together and I like to use it. And so whenever I use that mask, it does leave a stain on the sink, and that's the only thing that's left back in that bathroom. I always mop the floor when I use it. I always wipe the sink when I use it. Anytime I do my hair, I wipe in there, right? And especially in the old bathroom, even more so than this bathroom here at this house. They're gaslighting now and they're making noise, y'all. They know full well, right, that I clean that bathroom. You know how many times I've gone and found hair all over the sink and the floor, to the point where my dad, now I said a relationship, because they're so good at antagonizing me. Let me keep it cool, y'all. They're very good at what they do. I almost cussed because they're gaslighting and flying the insect drone. Sorry, y'all. I was trying to get the insect. Y'all gonna hear that in the video. I'm so sorry. I was trying to get, because they're flying the insect drone in my face to antagonize, right? They know what they're doing. They do this on purpose. They troll all day long because they don't like me as a person. They can know that I'm dead right in the situation. They're always going to refute it just because. Anyway, so look how they flew the thing in my face to confirm that. Anyway, so this is what you deal with when you're in this program. I really wish they would just let me leave, to be quite real. Like, you don't like me. You made it very clear, which I have no problem with. I don't give a shit. I've apologized. You don't accept it. That's fine. I apologize, though. My thing is, let me leave. Let me save up enough money and let me leave. Don't follow me with this shit, because you know full well I didn't do anything. Do not follow me. Let me leave and let me start over for real. This is what I keep saying, and I don't understand why that's not being done. Why would you keep someone around that you don't like? You know, with this program going, I can't thrive. Why would you do that? You know I didn't commit a crime. Right is right and wrong is wrong. Why wouldn't you just let me leave and start over? That's my thing. You know what I mean? It's just right is right and wrong is wrong. But anyway, so let me go ahead and continue, y'all. I just get so annoyed, y'all. Like, so freaking annoyed. Anyway, so, in the old house in particular, in that old neighborhood, that bathroom, oh my God, I used to keep that bathroom clean, y'all. Mop the floor and everything. The sink was clean. That bathroom used to look way better than this bathroom in this house. And that's because we're all sharing this one bathroom now. It's all of us. And this is an old house too. And there's this old, there's a lot of old stuff going on in this house. I'm not trying to go into too many details. But at the other house in the old neighborhood, it was my bathroom. I had my own bathroom, and the people in my close circle had their own bathroom. And that arrangement seemed to work because my bathroom was clean. And so it's just like, now it's this thing where we're all sharing the bathroom, and, it's a smaller bathroom, and it's more, compact, and it's just a nightmare, man. It's just not what it used to be in the old neighborhood. I'm not going to front. Like, if anything that I miss about that old neighborhood, and it's funny, we were just talking about this today, we missed the house. We definitely missed the house from the old neighborhood because it was bigger and more spacious. Anyways, y'all, so that's kind of been like an issue here at this house, is keeping the bathroom cleanly, because nobody really wants to clean it, and everybody's using it, and it's such a small space, and so it's a mess. But anytime I do my hair in there, y'all, I clean it. You ain't seeing hair anywhere left back from me. The only thing that I can acknowledge that I do leave back is turmeric stains all over the sink. And so I will acknowledge that there are turmeric stains all over the sink sometimes, and not even all over like what you think either, like big huge stains like that. It's more so like a tint, so like I wipe it up and there's a tint left back. And so that is something that's complained about. But other than that, I'm always mopping the floor. I actually keep saying I need to put Clorox and Fabuloso in a bucket and really mop that floor good. But I'm always putting soap on the floor, and I know they see me doing it too, and mopping up the floor, because it's just constantly getting this kind of, way on the floor. It's just so different to the old bathroom that we had in that old house. Anyway, y'all, so she's just complaining, and, she turned around and cleaned the bathroom, and I didn't even know she was going to do that. Instead of letting me clean it like I was planning to, she went and cleaned the bathroom. She's complaining more, and so that was the start of really the decline of the day, right? So then we get in the car together. And she's in this kind of like complaining type mood, this nagging type mood. So then she's complaining about her car. She's complaining about the dashboard. Not the dashboard, excuse me, the glass, the windshield. She's talking about there's smudges all over the windshield and this and that. And I just complained. I said, okay, well, I don't know how the smudges got there. She said, it looked like somebody was just taking their hand and smearing it. I said, who did that? You think I'm at work smearing my hand and drawing pictures on the glass? And she said, no, well, I'm not saying that, but she said, who else did it? You're the one who borrowed. I said, I'm the only one borrowing the car. I said, I borrowed the car to work at night. I said, who's doing it? And she said, I don't know, I didn't do it. And she said, you had to, who else did it? And she just complained and kind of like insinuating that I left the smears on the glass. And so she said, I just wish you would save up and get your own car. And I said, but so-and-so. I said, you know, when I had my car before I left Island, how clean my car was. My car was so clean, y'all. You could eat off the floor of my car. My car had seats. I took pride in my car. I had seats. I had bought the seat covering for my car. I was getting my car washed every week. I was getting it vacuumed every week. I had air freshener in my car. My car was nice, spanking clean. To the point where they were teasing me. They're like, oh gosh, man. They're like, you never come see. They're like, you always clean in the car. They were laughing and teasing me how clean my freaking car was and how every minute I was going and getting it washed and buying air freshener and all these different shits for my car. All 3 cars I had. Because remember I told y'all, I got in 3 back-to-back accidents in the span of 2 years because of my targeting. Literally right after my targeting started, y'all, in that 2-year span, when I was here on Island teaching before I tried to relocate off Island, I got into 3 back-to-back accidents in the span of 2 years at age 29. Prior to that, never even got a speeding ticket because that was something they tried to gaslight me about to these accidents when it was caused from gang stalking. It was caused because I chose to speed and evade gang stalkers. So it was my decision at the end of the day, but it was definitely influenced. Anyway, so whatever the case is, when I had my car, oh my God, y'all, it was so freaking spotless outside and inside to the point where they were teasing me about the way that I was keeping my car. So I even had to say that to her. I said, but you remember how I was with my car? I said, y'all used to tease me about how clean my car was. And she said, yeah, but that's your car. She said, this is my car. And I said, okay, but why would I dirty your car and I didn't even dirty mine? I had OCD with my car. And she said, because some people don't care about stuff when it's not their own. I said, that's not true. I said, it's not like I'm going to be sitting there at night smearing my hand on the glass. Why would I do that? You know, so I was just like, what are you talking about? So it was just like it was go from the house, you know, from the situation in the bathroom onward. It was just a bad day. So she's already in this irritated kind of, and typically she is anyway in these days, just in this kind of mood with me anyway these days, really and truly. So again, it's just that type of syndrome where, you know, you're mad at somebody for something and so you're acting like you're quarreling with them about one thing, but really underlying it's just the fact that you're annoyed with them in general. That's kind of what it was today. Anyway, so she nagged about the bathroom thing. Then we get in the car and that situation happens. And so we're heading for the food, right? So we drive down, you know, we're looking for something to eat. You know, we're trying to decide where we're going to go on Island to get food because we want to cook food. You know, we're trying to find good food instead of junk food. And so we ended up going kind of like one side of the island and we're headed back up. So we ended up passing the university for the island, right? The main university. She's like, you know, they sell food in there. She's like, they sell good food in there. I said, really? I said, okay, I didn't even know that. And she said, yeah. And she's driving by and she said, but I wouldn't, you know, make us go in there right now. She said, you know, all the students are in there. And I see her rub her nose, right? And so when she did that, then I noticed the plane. I started to see the plane flying by, right? And remember, there's this false accusation or insinuation because of the text. Now, it's this spiteful thing. I know they know I didn't do anything, y'all. It's more so this spiteful type of thing that's going on where they insinuate certain things and they know I get uncomfortable in certain situations too. And so that's where the rub nose comes from, because it's kind of thing where they're pushing all of these false allegations on me as some sort of vigilante retribution for me bearing false witness. So the squeezing of the nose and pretending like my breath stinks is one thing, and it kind of is a trickle of signal to hint to all of the other false allegations that they're throwing at me. So when they rub the nose, you know my breath doesn't really stink. Mind you, I had just bought, again, y'all, just bought mouthwash. Literally yesterday. Not yesterday. Yesterday was when this happened. Remember, I'm at work now. I have to keep remembering, and it's after 12. Day before yesterday, I had just bought new mouthwash, y'all. I bought a new toothbrush, right? I'm doing this every month, and this is how I am when I'm getting paid. Now that I'm working again, I can buy new toothbrushes every month, and I can keep re-ing up on my mouthwash. Just bought new mouthwash, y'all. They saw me just scrub my mouth, scrub my tongue really good, floss my teeth, use the mouthwash, We're just in the car. My mouth is still minty fresh. You're pinching your nose. So I'm like, okay, obviously this is the same thing that they do. All of them do this synchronicity type thing where it's kind of like pinching the nose to kind of insinuate all of the other false things. It's this weird thing. It just kind of insinuates me in general. They have this word, this moniker shit associated with me, and it's this kind of play on, the false allegation about the breath, but then just me as a person in general. It's this kind of way that they play it. Listen, y'all, listen to the music. Listen. I really hope the video picked up on that. Let me make sure I'm still recording. Oh my God, I am. Thank goodness. I wanted to make sure I was still recording, y'all. Look at this. See, I know this is going to be a heck of a long video. We're already basically an hour in and I have not even gotten to my notes, y'all. And I'm still at the beginning of the day, of today. Let me try to hurry up and rush through this part of the video because I really want to get to the notes. Those are the things I really want to talk about. But y'all heard the noise campaign amp up when I said shit, right? So this is this joke, this running joke they have when I go around because they know that my breath doesn't really stink. Again, this is another play off of the part 3 example of shadow networking AI software utilized on targeted individuals. Check out that video, y'all. It's a good video where I give you information about and examples of how they use the shadow networking technology to send you subliminal messaging through the videos you watch on YouTube, Netflix, TV in general, etc. They use the media to send subliminal messaging. They have the technology to do that. So check out that video, y'all. Not only do I show you them doing it to a fellow target, but I talk about the tactic and how they use it, and basically the tactic in general of them getting you to believe lies about yourself. It's a big smear campaign when you become targeted, and it's psychological warfare. So they come for your self-esteem, they come for your mental. They want to paint false things about you, but they also want you to start to believe lies about yourself. And so for me, one of those things that they try to get me to believe is that I stink. Even though I know I don't stink. I know I just took a fresh bath. I know I just brushed my teeth. I know I just flossed. I know I just used mouthwash. I know I'm still tasting minty fresh in my mouth. But you're pinching your nose and acting like you're smelling something. It's all a play on the false allegations, y'all. And just kind of pushing now false things at me as some sort of retaliation for me, quote unquote, bearing false witness. And really, y'all, check out my reactive abuse part 1 video where I break down the bearing false witness thing. And you'll hear that really and truly, I've only technically bared false witness once in my early 20s. All of the other times was more so insinuations, and it wasn't even a whole heap of other times either. The 2 other incidents that they're punishing me for was really insinuations that I made rather than straight up bearing false witness. So check out my reactive abuse part 1 video. I recently posted that, y'all. And then check out the part 2. Those are both good videos to check out. Anyway, y'all, so she did that thing, kind of rubbed her nose, and I noticed a plane fly by overhead. So it's like, oh my God, the little plane, that they like to fly by over targets. So I was like, oh boy, I was like, okay. I didn't take it as anything, though. I didn't really get upset at that point. That wasn't when I got upset. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. That happened. I just, I'm used to the shenanigans. I'm like, whatever. Still in a jovial mood. We're going up and down. We're still looking for food. And I noticed that, she's just kind of like in this annoyed, irritated mood with me, but things were still kind of, relatively smooth and not too bad, right? So then she decided to stop at the laundry for me to throw my stuff in because it was getting later and we couldn't find food. So at the point where we stopped at the laundry, I was telling her something. I can't remember what I was telling her. I'm trying to remember what it was that I was telling her, but she seemed irritated. And so then she did the rub nose thing again. So anytime she was getting irritated with me, she would rub her nose like my breath was stinking, right? So this was the second time she did it. So I'm like, okay. And I know, again, my mouth is tasting fresh. I know you're not smelling my breath. But I'm like, okay. So I'm just like, I don't even remember what exactly it was that was said that annoyed her. But she rubbed her nose again. So I was just like, whatever. I just went in the back to get my stuff. At that point, I still hadn't gotten upset. I was starting to get annoyed, but I wasn't really upset yet. So when I put my stuff in the laundry and we were looking for more food. So we get to the other side of the island now, right? And we passed a restaurant that was called, I don't want to say the name of the restaurant, so I'm going to substitute the name. It was 2 letters and then it said the word touch. So I'm going to substitute the 2 letters for something else. So I'm going to say that it said Aldi's Touch instead of the 2 letters it really said, right? Aldi's Touch. Now remember I told you another running joke and another thing they like to do to antagonize me is use the word touch. And they use the shadow networking software to subliminally send me the word touch constantly, programming my brain and sensitizing me to that word. Again, pushing the false narrative about the text to malign me. It's so bad, y'all, that they're like literally this whole program that's going on with me is starting movements on Island. I'm noticing more and more people doing podcasts. I'm noticing people naming their businesses Touch, right? I'm noticing people wearing plaid shirts. They're ordering one set of plaid shirts. This whole targeting has started a whole weird ass movement on Island. It's very creepy, y'all. It's so weird, the level of influence this whole little situation has on the whole thing, right? It's so creepy. But people are even naming their business so-and-so Touch. I didn't even know that. People are making songs. You know, it's going really far. So I was just like, she's like, let's go here. She said, let's go to LD's Touch. I said, what? I just laughed, you know, because I'm like, it's obvious what you're doing, right? You know what's going on. You're going to say that. So I just laughed. All I did was laugh. I didn't even get mad, you know. I didn't get mad. It's not like I said, you know, get riled up or something. I just laughed. To me, the whole thing is comical at times. Most times I'm laughing more than anything else. So I just laughed. And she said, what are you laughing for? She said, you know what? I'm going to take you home. You're acting crazy. She's like, I'm going to take you home. I said, take me home for what? I said, I'm just laughing. I said, what happened? And she said, but you're acting crazy. She said, I don't have time for the crazy shit today. I said, crazy stuff. I said, I'm just laughing. I said, what are you acting like that for? I said, I saw some guy, and I didn't lie. You know, it was kind of like an omission, a lie of omission, because I truly did see a guy in there at the bar with these big black boots up to his knees. But that's not why I was laughing. I was laughing at the touch thing, obviously. But I did see a guy in there that looked kind of funny with the boots on. So I said, that's not why I was laughing. I said, no, I didn't say that's not why I was laughing. I said, what's wrong with me laughing? I said, I saw a guy in there with big black boots up to his knees. And she's like, yeah, but you're just acting crazy. I said, crazy? I just laughed. What is the big deal? And she's like, nah, you're just acting crazy. You know, like, this is what she does. Like, whenever we see stuff, you know, pertaining to my targeting, and I laugh or I talk about it, I get gaslit about it. Like, she'll like start to make it like I'm acting crazy or I'm acting off kilter, right? So I was just like, oh boy, you know, I didn't want problems. So I said, let me just go ahead and go along with things. So I said, you know what? Let me just go along with things. Let me stop arguing. So I just shut up, right? So we're going out and we went to town and we're looking for food to eat. We still couldn't find anything. So we're heading back now. We passed by this housing unit. And I was looking at the night, and she knows I'm trying to get a place. You know, we've talked about it. I'm 32. I usually have my own place. The only reason I'm down on my ass now is because I'm targeted. You know, and I have started working now, so I'm trying to save up. So I have been thinking about getting my own place. Of course, top priority is getting a car first, but I do intend to get my own place. So I was just looking at this apartment complex, and I was just thinking in my head. I didn't say it out loud, but remember, my thoughts are being projected. I still don't know how the technology works, but I believe when she's sitting right next to me, she can hear my thoughts. That's the way that it seems. Like, they can hear my thoughts while they're next to me. I've kind of came to that realization that they're, you know, the people right next to you can hear your thoughts. This is why my brain started ticking so bad. Once I realized my thoughts were being projected to that level where the person right next to me is hearing my thoughts in real time, that's also what started this weird psychological thing to start happening where it feels like thoughts are pushing in my head. And sometimes I do suspect that it's thought manipulation, like they're doing stuff to humiliate me. I can't prove it, but sometimes I suspect that's happening as well. But I don't know for sure, and I don't want to bear false witness, and then they start to overtly do it just because. But it's just, it's horrible, man. But anyways, that's more so when I'm around strangers. Sometimes with family too, but like mainly around strangers, it's like that happens to me. Anyway, so, you know, I was just thinking that thought. I was looking at the apartment. I was thinking in my head, you know, if I get this apartment, I was just thinking about how I could shield it. You know, remember I told y'all there are ways to cut the signal off to these cameras and to the RFID chip in your head. You can buy shielding paint. And there are shielding paints out there that block off the frequencies and even the remote control to these drones that they use to surveil you. So if you shield off your room with shielding paint and double protection, you get like some sort of grounding mesh material, and you set up like a grounding mat and a grounding system in your room or your apartment, they can't watch you anymore, nor can they hear your thoughts, at least while you're in that enclosure. So that's what I was thinking about. I was just looking at the apartment and daydreaming about shielding it. And I think she heard my thoughts, because randomly, as soon as we drove past the apartment, she's like, you know what? I'm going to just take you to the laundry and let you get your stuff, and you can get pizza or something. I'm going to take you home. And I'm going to come back out here to town and see if I can find some real food for me and so. I said, I want real food too. I want good home cooked food too. And she's like, yeah, but I don't have time for the craziness. I said, what craziness? I didn't say anything. And she said, yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. I said, Hey, listen, y'all. I don't know if y'all heard the bird drone that's in the tree going off. So I was like, what craziness? I said, I didn't say anything. Because it had been a while since the Aldi's touch moment where I laughed. We had drove all through town and we're looking for food. And now we're headed back to the laundry to get my stuff. And I saw that apartment complex and I was just thinking in my head about shielding up the apartment. And then randomly, as we drive by the apartment, she starts saying that. So I'm like, what? I said, I didn't say anything, though. I said, what did I do? I'm just sitting here. And she said, yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. I said, what? And she said, it's not anything you did just now, but you know what I'm talking about. I said, you're talking about earlier? When we drove by the LD's touch, you're still talking about that? I said, I just laughed. I said, I told you I saw a guy with the high boots on and you could have drove back and saw for yourself. I said, we've been driving all this time and nothing happened. Why are you saying that now? And so then she just kind of stopped talking. And I thought in my head, I didn't say this out loud, but I thought in my head, she's listening to my thoughts. It's because she heard me thinking about the apartment and shielding it off. That's why she said that. But I was just like, okay, whatever, right? Still didn't argue, but at this point now I'm kind of getting wary about the snapping on me all day type thing. Kind of getting in a wary mood now, but still in a decent mood, still jovial, still not having an attitude. When I got the attitude was when we went to the pizza parlor because it felt like she was trying to humiliate me, right? So we went into the pizza parlor, right? And we're standing up at the counter and I'm already irritated, y'all, because someone in my close circle gave me her card, right? And she wanted me to order food for her, but the money wasn't on the card already. So I'm having to stand up there, make the order, get the amount, and then I'm having to talk to her on the phone, by the way, take her order, give it to the person, and then after I give it to the person, get the price, tell her so she can put the money on the card. Now, typically, although that's like somewhat of an annoying process, it's not that big of a deal if you're not targeted. But when you're targeted and you feel like, it not only feel like, it's not just a feeling, it's a fact. Everyone's watching you. You see people start piling into the pizza parlor just because you're in there, and some of them are wearing plaid. You start to get irritated, and then you're having to now go through this extra process that you don't feel like dealing with. You start to get irritated, and that's what started happening. I was so annoyed that I had to, as much as I didn't mind getting her the food, it was irritating for me having to go through this process to get her the food. It wasn't like she just gave me her card and knew ahead of time what she wanted. She didn't even know where we were going. So when I had to call her and get her order and then wait for her to put money on the card, and all these people are piling in, and some of them are wearing plaid. Remember I told y'all they like to wear the plaid. Check out my prior videos to hear more about that. But that's one of the things they like to do that they've sensitized me to. So they're walking and wearing the plaid and they're all piling into the pizza store like they want to be around me or something. This is weird thing, man, that happens when you're targeted. And not always, but oftentimes it can happen where they start to, it's called crowding or mobbing, where they start to crowd a place. And so I just started to feel really like just claustrophobic and like I wanted to run out the pizza parlor. And so I started getting really irritated. I wasn't getting snappy, but more so just kind of irritated and like, come on, hurry up, kind of way. And I started sounding irritated. So I started noticing that was when the person in my close circle that was with me started pinching her nose and acting like my breath stunk. Because I was getting a little irritated on the phone, and it wasn't even like I was being rude or anything, but I was getting kind of irritated because she's like, she's complaining because they didn't have, the kind of pizza she wanted. She was asking if they had cheese, I think it was, and they didn't have it. She's like, well, what else do they have? And she just being, not difficult, just, I guess, trying to decide what she wants. But I'm just like, come on, like, can you please hurry up? Because I just want to get through this process, and all these people are piling in is how I was feeling. I was like, I don't know. I said, they don't have the cheese. I said, so what do you want? They have the veggie, they have the this, I'm just giving her the options. And she's just like, and taking long to decide and stuff. And so I started getting irritated. And so the person next to me starts pinching her nose and acting like my breath, my breath is stinking. And so, I looked at her, I'm like, I can't believe you're doing this. You see all these people piling in, first of all. You already know what's going on with this situation. That's embarrassing. Why are you going to do that? And so she starts doing that. And so I started getting really irritated in the pizza parlor even more. That was where I finally started to snap. All day had been nagging at me and, all this passive aggressive stuff. And there was where I started to snap and started to get really an attitude. That was where it started. After all day of me being cool and just kind of laughing stuff off, that was where I started to get irritated. Especially when all these people are piling in on top of me. Y'all know I'm introverted, right? So that was where I really started to get irritated. And so she's just doing this, acting like my breath is stinking while I'm having this conversation on the phone. And so I finally got to order the food or whatever, and I ordered my food, and I had an attitude with her, and so she's like, why are you acting like that? Like she's, for instance, like she tried to pick up the card, and she said, here, you forgot the card, and I kind of snatched it from her. Not even super hard, but I did kind of like pull it from her a little hard. And I went to stand on the counter and she was asking me something about the drink and I ignored her. And she said, what's going on with you? You know, gaslighting kind of, like, what's going on with you? I don't understand what's going on. So then we get to the car and we sit inside and I did what she did to me. She went to say something. I went and I rolled down the window and she said, listen, I don't know what shit you got going on, but just this, what I mean? Like the passive aggressive stuff, purposely just doing this type of way to like, kind of like, it felt like humiliate me. And all day long was just this kind of energy like that. It was just this weird thing going on all day long and nagging and stuff. And I had started in the house over a misunderstanding where, she was completely wrong. But because she never acknowledged... Anyway, I'm not going to go into the details about it. I just think it was more than that. I just think she's irritated with me in general in this time in life right now. And she was just basically projecting that on me today. Anyway, so that was today, y'all. That was basically what happened today. So I finally made it home, and I'm tired and I'm exhausted. I needed to get into the bed and try and get some rest for work. And as I'm walking in with the box of pizza, I end up tripping over the carpet. Literally, my nail even busted, y'all. My pizza fell at the box. Not the person in my close circle. My pizza. My favorite slice to the mushroom chicken. I was so pissed. Fell on the floor. She had done start crawling at me about, you're acting crazy today. I don't know what's going on with you. You're acting mad. Just going in on me like I tripped on purpose. I'm like, because I tripped? I'm like, you're crawling at me because I tripped? I said, look at my toe. I said, I really tripped. She's like, oh, okay, sure you did. I'm like, what? Sure I did. I said, so you're saying I tripped myself? You think I tripped up? It was wild, y'all. Today was a wild day. And I have to talk about it in this video and kind of document because I was just like, this was a wild day today. Anyway, that's... right, it's not irrelevant because I did want to document because it bothered me. I did want to talk about it. I sat here for a whole hour talking about it. But let me talk about the other stuff that I really wanted to do this video about. That part wasn't even supposed to be in the video. That was kind of like an impromptu, random kind of, you got added to the video just because type of thing. Let me go into these notes now and talk about what's been happening for these last 2 weeks, y'all, because it's a lot to unpack. And remember, the goal is to make this video no longer than 2 hours. We're already an hour in. All right, so first thing I want to do, y'all, is play a short clip from a Real Housewives of Atlanta rerun, right? Little short clip on YouTube. And then I want to talk about that.
Contact you.
Of course. Unless it's after 10 o'clock. It just got to a...
Oh, man,
Is this
I can't
how you
hear
would
it.
normally handle?
There's a specific part I want to go to, y'all, for y'all to hear. And I had it at that part before the video, but now that the video is going, it's this weird thing where the video is going to record the sound of what I'm recording very clearly. And I might get a copyright strike too, so I need to make sure I don't play too much of the video. But it's going to play it clearly, but I'm not going to be able to hear it. While I'm doing the recording, I can't hear what's being said. There's a specific part of this video that I want to play. And I had it to that part of the video, but it moved from that part of the video, so I'm really upset about that. I'm going to try to see if I can fast forward to the part where I think she's saying it. This is the part here where she's saying, basically, as long as we're in front of these cameras, we're going to be judged. They're reality TV stars, so that's understandable. I'm an everyday human going through this weird, vigorous, rigorous, whatever, arduous, horrible, traumatic experience where I'm being forced to be on camera. They actually agree to be on camera and they're getting paid for it. I haven't agreed for this. I haven't agreed to this. So illegally I'm being surveilled. It's not even to say it's just law enforcement and the military doing it. They're broadcasting the freaking video to everyone on island. So it's almost equivalent to being like a reality TV star, except I'm not getting paid for it and I'm constantly being judged and humiliated. So understand, if they're going through it as reality TV stars and they're talking about constantly being judged, you can imagine how bad it is for a target. And I wanted to play the clip where she said that, but I can't remember.
Criticizing
I
from the
think this is it
camera
here.
and have been ripped apart by everybody, Portia.
I think that was it. I think she said it there. I'm not sure, I couldn't hear good. I'm pretty sure that was it. But you can check out that clip if you want, y'all. But she's just basically talking about, as long as you're in front of these cameras, you are going to be judged. And that is accurate, y'all. Like, it's constantly, like I said, it feels like you're constantly having to defend yourself, and, you know, they're all staring at you, because understand, it's not even just regular people staring at you. Like, for instance, if you were a reality star, you're targeted, your name has been smeared, it's a smear campaign going on. Typically, you've had egregious reactions because of what's going on. That's how the program works. You get gaslit about the reaction and painted like a monster. I'm not the only one that this has been done to. It happens to all targets. That's one of the major tactics they use. Constantly antagonize, harass. You react egregiously, whether that be with your mouth or your fists. And then you get painted in a worse light than they're already painting you in. And then you get painted as monster. Or you get coined as villain, monster bitch, whatever it is that they're calling you. Shit. Whatever it is that they're calling you. Right? And so that's how it works. And constantly you're being judged and watched by all these people, and a lot of them don't like you. So it's just like, it's a nightmare, y'all. It's like you're freaking on edge all the time. You know, you feel like you're on eggshells. Regular everyday stuff that you do is getting judged. Things that everyone else does, they know full well they do it their damn self. You're getting judged for it. And so it's just a nightmare. I just had to play that because I saw it the other day. I like to watch these Atlanta Housewives rerun clips. And I was like, oh my God. This is for the targets. I was like, I had to just share that before I start this video, because literally that is the biggest challenge with this program, is the surveillance. That is the main tactic they use to keep the shit going, because constantly there's going to be something that they can use to malign you with your everyday life. It's a nightmare. Anyway, let me continue. So much to talk about, y'all. Oh my God. I don't know that I'm going to talk about everything because I took notes. And I don't know that I'm going to talk about everything. I'm tired, y'all, and this is a lot. But I'm going to do the best I can to try and get through all of this. So next, things seemed to amp up once I started working out. I said this in several of my recent videos, y'all. If you check out my parts 1, 2, and 3, episode at the gym, and dating while targeted videos, you'll hear me talking about the weird stuff that started happening shortly after me working out at the gym. Like, it was like my 3rd week in. And that random thing with the insect drone attacking me when I was listening to a song in the gym that they had heard me listening to for the last month, you know, and so I had a slight reaction, barely anything, y'all. And that was used as an excuse to shut down the taxi system on me. It's crazy. But it just felt like certain things amped up and started happening more when I started working again and when I started working out, especially working out in the gym. Because remember, I've been working out at home for the last 4 months. But I started doing the gym. It's been, I want to say, about 2 months now that I've been at the... Actually, yeah, because I just made my 2nd payment here. It's been 2 months. So actually, I've been working out for about 5 months now. To be real with y'all, time is flying. It's been about 5 months, 5 to 6 months. Wow, time is flying that I've been working out. So for 3 months, I was at home. And the last 2 months, I've been in the gym. And about 1 month in was when things started to get really gnarly. You know, it just seemed like they were looking for an excuse. I said this already because I can't fathom what made them shut down the taxi system on me. You know, there was nothing that I did that was outrageous enough for them to shut the system down. And so it almost felt like something they just wanted to do. And so they looked for an excuse to do it. And so I was just like, wow, you know, it's crazy. I'm like, it's a big deal that I'm working out. You know, it's like I'm already impeded to the point where I'm not even doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I graduated magna cum laude. I'm not teaching. I'm not doing anything major at the moment. I haven't given up. I still have plans to do things, right? But at the moment, all I'm doing, I hear somebody kind of revving up slightly for give up. Yeah, hold your breath and wait and see what happens. Hold your breath and wait for the give up and see what happens. See if you make it. Anyway, so, and then now they would call me a monster bitch for saying that when I was just antagonized and hinted at giving up, right? They didn't rev loudly, but it was a slight rev and I heard it. So my response, and I mean it too, hold your breath and wait. Wait for the give up. Hold your breath and wait for it and see what happens. See if you make it. Anyway, so like I was saying though, it's just this issue, right? Whenever I'm doing something productive, it seems to be a problem because it's reminiscent of what happened last year when I was doing the coding in the old neighborhood. Remember I told y'all, as soon as I came back, right? This is how my brain works. I'm always like actively trying to do things that are productive, even if I'm in a weird, and this is the weirdest, most gnarliest situation I have ever been in. I've never been in this level of trouble. I've never been in trouble in general. I don't get in trouble. I'm a good girl. So this is different for me. So to have been somebody that never got in trouble, and then you're at this level of trouble, you know, it's like 0 to 100 real quick, that saying. that applies to my situation. Like, it's not like I have a history of getting in trouble and this is just another one of those moments. I have never been in trouble in my life, especially not with the law. And so I'm just like, this is a whole different thing that I'm trying to navigate through. And so I'm used to always pushing myself and doing things that's productive. So now that I'm in this weird situation, I'm still trying to do that, but I'm not used to being impeded and all of these weird, the creepy stuff that happens when you're targeted. I'm not used to that. So last year, this is what I tried to do, even after everything that happened when I tried to relocate off island. I sat home and I did research. I was like, okay, well, let me see what I can do to salvage my life. I make the best of myself despite my weird situation. So I'm doing research. I'm like, okay, what can I do from the house? I'm like, I got a degree, man. I graduated magna cum laude. I have all this experience. There's something I could do. I'm like, there's something I could do from the house. I know there is. I'm aware of the fact that there are call center jobs you could do from home. I knew there were different things I could do. So I started looking into a lot of different things. And that was how I came across the tech industry. And so I was like, wait a minute, tech. Yeah, why don't I get into that? I like computers. I like video games. I'm pretty tech savvy. My brother, that's actually what he's doing. One of my brothers, I think he's doing cybersecurity or something like that in school. He's about to graduate. I was like, why don't I get into that? I'm like, I'm good at that. And that's something you could do from the house. I started doing research about it. And I realized that the tech field is really lucrative. Like, that's one of the highest paying careers you can do. And you can do it remotely. So you can work from home. You can make your own hours. I was like, duh. I was like, I should have actually got into this prior to my targeting. I don't know why I didn't look into this before my targeting. So low-key, if anything good came from this targeting, it was me kind of honing in on that career field. So I was just like, wait a minute. And I actually like it too. Because I started playing around with learning coding and teaching myself different coding languages. And I was like, this is actually fun. Like, I started learning how to build stuff with code. And I was like, this is fun. I started building projects and stuff. I built a video game and, all these different things. I started building like a website and stuff like that. I started playing around with it and teaching myself how to code. I was teaching myself JavaScript and HTML and CSS and that stuff. And so I was like, this is fun. I could do this. I was like, if I really sit here and learn, I can teach myself, because I was looking at the different options and I saw you don't need a degree in computer science to get into the tech field. You don't need a degree, right? You could teach yourself. If you're smart enough, you can teach yourself how to code, or you can pay for a boot camp, is what I was seeing. So there are a lot of people that pay for the boot camps and they get the knowledge that way, and they get taught how to basically how to code from the boot camps. But if you can't afford the boot camp, which I couldn't, I was broke. Back then I had no money. Remember, that was when I had came back from Ireland from what happened to me when I tried to relocate. I was like, I could teach myself. I've always taught myself different things. I like to read. I'm computer savvy. I'm tech savvy. I could teach myself. And so I started looking at all of the free websites where you could learn how to code, like Free Code Camp, the Odin Project, etc. 30 Days of JavaScript. I was using all of the free resources and I was teaching myself how to code, and I was looking at the YouTube videos too. There are hour-long YouTube videos where you could learn how to code. And I was doing it and I was learning how to code. I got my web developer certificate from Free Code Camp. I built a portfolio. Y'all can see the portfolio if you check out my page. If you scroll down, I showed y'all the portfolio that I created. I'm not done yet, y'all. I'm still going, right? I'm still trying to fix up that portfolio. There's still work to be done with it. I haven't even made it responsive. So right now, if you go to view it from your cell phone, the dimensions are going to look off. If you view it from your computer, then it's going to fit the screen perfectly. So that needs work. It needs work, the portfolio. But I put together a damn good portfolio for somebody that's a novice that taught themselves how to code, right? Created projects on my own, taught myself, self-taught. And so I was just like, wow, this is fun. I can do this because I actually was having fun. I was enjoying doing it. And I thought, this is not the main motivating factor, but this was a major motivating factor. The money. I saw that you get 6-figure salaries in the tech field. You build your way up, and it doesn't take long to build your way up. Typically, you start in the 80,000 range. And so I was like, what? I said, you get paid this well to do tech? And you could do it from home, and it's fun. Like, it's something, at least for me, it's something that I found fun to do. I was like, oh yeah, heck yeah. So I was teaching myself, and it was like the biggest deal ever. Like, similar to what started happening now that I'm just simply working out and doing security. It was similar to that. It was like, I felt like the gang stalking amped up. They started taking the current every minute. Noise campaigns amped up. That was around the time when the energy weapon attacks that I suspect happened to me, the microwave energy weapon attacks that I've talked about in my prior videos for those 2 months. That was around when that happened. You know, it's similar to what's happening now. I mean, it's not an energy weapon attack thing to Most High, and I think my videos is what stopped that and telling my story. But it still is this kind of where it's like being impeded and, you know, taxi shut down on me and I didn't even do anything and amp up in the gang stalking and all this extra stuff. It's to the point where they're doing this new thing these last 2 weeks, y'all, where they keep pushing the word death at me and funeral and, you know, hinting that these dark, ominous, evil things, man, wicked things. They started throwing at me these last 2 weeks. I'm like, why are they throwing all this dark energy at me? Like, why? I didn't do anything to deserve this. I'm like, I didn't do anything recently for them to amp up and start throwing that at me again. Because I remember, guess what? When they were throwing that at me last year when I was doing the coding. And so I'm like, this is a replay of what happened last year when I was learning how to code. That was when they were throwing that word at me too. It seems like anytime I'm doing something productive, even if it's something as minuscule as working out, it's a problem. And they start to throw all these heinous, horrible things at me. Oh my God, that just reminded me, y'all. Whoa, I missed something that happened today, y'all. On this little journey that I was taking with a person in my close circle, I forgot to talk about this really nasty thing I saw today. So she and I are driving, and after the incident where she drove by the school, right, and she talked about, you know, but I wouldn't make you go in there right now. You know, the school students are in there, and she rubbed her nose, and then I saw the plane flying by. I started to go off on a tangent, y'all, and to take you back to that part of what I talked about, that part of the video, but I wanted to document. I could not believe what I saw today. How far they will take the gang stalking. So we're driving right after that incident happened, and we're heading up to town. Remember, I told you we ended up heading to town to look for real food on the other side of the island. And we ended up cutting through the neighborhood that we used to live in. We didn't cut through it, but we cut through a back road that was near the neighborhood we used to live in. And so on the right side of the road, you know, our house is. And so there was this hill, and this lady was bent all the way over, y'all. And obviously they're seeing me on camera. So she knew we were driving by, and she knew I was looking out my window, y'all. Remember I told you to like to do this vulgar bend over thing to antagonize me. Check out that video, y'all. That video with the thumbnail of the vulgar, nasty thumbnail with the man bending over with the little short pom-pom black pants on. And it's titled Stimuli Used to Sensitize Me. Check out that video so y'all can hear how that got created, right? But to antagonize me, this is why she was doing that. But you so whatless, right? You want to antagonize somebody and gang stalk so bad that you're willing to expose all your business just to do it? My girl was bent, and this was clearly somebody that's older. I respect my elders, and this is why I'm trying not to go too in. But just judging by how the flesh was looking, right? This was somebody that was older. I don't know how much older, but this was an older person. Not like old, like old, but like old, it was an older lady, right? She's bent all the way over. Her dress is over her butt. This is the worst I've seen it, right? I've seen them do the bend over stimuli before. I have never seen underneath where I'm seeing your business. You want to antagonize so bad you let me see your business? I'm y'all, I'm telling you, when I get out this program, I'm going to be scarred psychologically for life, you know, for life. This lady was bent over. The damn nightie was all the way over her butt. I'm seeing her wrinkly cottagey butt, and it wasn't even totally wrinkly. This is what I'm saying. It was like an older lady, judging from what I saw. Not super old, not like old, but old, right? All her thighs and her butt, everything, her business, everything was out, y'all. She had her whole business out just to antagonize and get. You think I want to gang stalk somebody that bad that I'm gonna have my whole business out for them to see? I'm the perv? Really? I almost barfed, y'all. I almost barfed when I saw that shit. Anyway, so this is how far they will take it. To antagonize and push the false narrative just to malign me. Right? The vigilante retribution. You took it that far. You had your whole business out for me to see. I almost barfed. Anyway, I forgot to talk about that because I was like, oh my God, I have to talk about it. Immediately, I started thinking in my head, I'm going to be scarred for life. I can't unsee that shit. It was disgusting. Anyway, so let me continue though. Back to the part of the video where I was at though. So this is similar to what was happening to me last year when I was doing the coding. That was when all the death was being thrown at me and, you know, those type of dark, heinous things like that where they're throwing that type of stimuli at you. All of a sudden, I noticed not only via the shadow networking where they're sending that stimuli, remember they all sync up. And when one thing is happening, one stimuli or one tactic, they're all doing it. And so all of a sudden I noticed the gang stalkers, the external gang stalkers too, hinting at death and things being dead, right? This is what they do. They start hinting at death or things being dead or funerals, right? Even tonight, I remember when I had got in the house and I was in the room and I'm just taking off my clothes, right? I'm about to take a nap before work. All of a sudden, somebody pulls up and they're dropping off, I guess, the lawnmower to the neighbor. I guess he was fixing the lawnmower for the neighbor. And so, of course, I'm hearing it. Remember, I told y'all the new neighborhood, we're living in my grandfather's house now. And the houses are real close together. They're in close proximity of each other. This is largely why I miss the old neighborhood. There are things that I'm so relieved that I don't have to encounter in the old neighborhood. But just the setup, especially as a target, the house, I missed that. The house was 2-story. It was way more spacious. The neighbors were spaced out more in the old neighborhood. In this new neighborhood, the houses are on top of each other and, very close together. It's a 1-story house. You can hear the next door neighbor farting when they fart, like it's that damn close. And you can imagine as a target how irritating that is with the noise campaigns that happen, right? So anyways, I'm hearing everything. They're outside in the street and he dropped off the lawnmower right as I get home. And I'm in my room changing my clothes. And the lady's telling him, thank you so much, whatever. And he's telling her, remember what I said? That machine is dead. He's like, that machine is dead. I'm just like, sir, go say your prayers and go home and lay down. That's what you need to do. Go and say your prayers, go home and lay down. I'm just like, what is wrong with them? And it's like every time I didn't do anything really, besides from making my videos where I'm not saying anything offensive. I'm making sure to stay clear of saying anything offensive. I'm literally just documenting the day-to-day. I'm not talking about anything offensive. Even in that situation with that cyber stalking dude, it had been months since I talked about the thing. I had apologized about it. I was done with it. They attacked me with the insect drone in the gym. And I told y'all prior to the gym, they had started to insinuate stuff because I was listening to a song by the shanty. So they insinuated stuff about that situation when I was waiting by the shanty. And then that same day in the gym, they attacked me with the insect drone. So they brought that thing back up again after I had already apologized and had done the thing, right? They had already given me all the backlash. I apologized. I was done talking about the thing. They insinuated, remember, listen to my part 1 gym episode and dating in the gym thing. They brought that thing up again. I was standing there innocently waiting for taxi. A song came on. I'm not going to talk about the thing again. They insinuated it. They drove by with the ambulance, did all that stuff. The Hummer guy pulled up, all that stimuli. Then I go to the gym and I'm attacked with the insect drone. And then they shut down the taxi service on me. So you know what I mean? It's just like this weird thing where they create stuff just to kind of impede you when you're doing something productive. It's this weird thing. And so that's kind of what it's been. And it's just been like a struggle getting to the gym. And it's just because I'm so freaking persistent. I looked into the public bus system. I'm like, okay, well, they can't shut down the public bus system. There's no way they're going to do that. Right? So every time I come out there, the bus that's scheduled to be there doesn't show up. So it's this thing where I'm having to go extra early now just to catch a bus. So I go for the time of the earlier bus, right? As early as I can go and still trying, I go as early as I can where I can at least get like 2 hours of sleep. Typically I would want more than that, but because of what's happening with the ride situation, I'm having to go for the earlier bus. Not even the earlier bus, but like the 12 o'clock bus, when really I'd rather go for the 1:20 bus. But I notice when I go there for the 1:20 bus, it doesn't show up. When I go for the 12:20 bus, it doesn't show up. So I'm realizing what I have to do is go for the 12:20 bus. I know it's not going to show up. And then the 1:20 bus does show up. So I'm being forced to go there early and sit there for an hour where I could be resting. Because if I go for the bus that I want to go for, it's not going to show up. That's what's happening with the public bus, y'all. And the taxi situation, forget it. I'm just not getting a ride. They're all just passing me straight. There have been 2 nice ladies that stopped for me and gave me a ride. And this one guy, one day. But really, since they started doing this thing, they just all passing me straight. They literally shut down the taxi system on me. And actually the other day, y'all, when I came out the gym and I was at the bus station waiting for the bus to go back home, this guy comes up to me, right? This older guy. And he tells me, you're still waiting here, because that day I was actually waiting for my mom to pick me up. Because we had this conversation. She had dropped me that day and she said she was going to pick me up. So I was waiting for her to pick me up, and it was kind of hours that I was waiting because my workout kind of ended early. That was my simple leg day, and it ended earlier than my workout typically ends. And so I was waiting there for a good 2 hours for her to pick me up, for her to get off work. And so the guy came up to me and he said, I came out here already and I dropped 2 girls off and I still see you waiting here. He said, you should let me give you a ride. And I said, next time, because I thought he was just, a gang stalker or whatever, being funny. So I was just like, next time, I just said next time, and I didn't say it in a rude, disrespectful way or anything like that. I just give him a little laugh and, I just said next time, And I said, no, for real though. He said, I drive taxi. So my ears perked up when he said that because I know they had shut the taxi system down on me. And he pointed and showed me his taxi bus. And it was parked outside of the restaurant that's right next to the Vitran. So I was like, wait, I said, you drive taxi? And he's like, yeah. And he said, I people call me all the time for rides. He said, if you take down my number, you can arrange a ride with me. So I took this number down in earnest. I was really planning to contact him. And I took the number down and I was going to use him for a ride if that were possible, if he wasn't charging too much. Because I noticed sometimes when you do like the specific special taxi, where it's not like you're standing up and catching the bus like everyone else, the public bus, and you're calling them to come out of their way to pick you up, they will charge you more than the typical like $3 fee. So I wanted to hear him out and hear what his range was, because that would be convenient for me so I could get more rest and get to the gym when I wanted to, like what I was doing before they shut the taxi down. And so I was excited about that, took down his number and everything. And that's another thing I wanted to document that I saw today. Today when we were heading to town to look for the food, he's standing outside by the taxi area. He knew I was coming. They're watching me on camera. He purposely stands out in the road for me to see him, and he's wearing a big plaid pants. Why do that? Why go out of your way to give me your number and tell me that you can give me a ride as a taxi just to do that? Like, these are the weird things that they do when they're gang stalking you. It's just weird, unnecessary stuff that you're wasting your day-to-day life and precious time where you could be doing something productive to antagonize an innocent individual. Like, you don't have anything better you could have done in that little moment than to come and gang stalk me and give me a little false hope that I could have had a ride? There wasn't something better you could be doing, like maybe making money, giving someone else a ride? This is the type of stuff that happens, and then when you act like a bitch, quote unquote, I'm using that term loosely, they call you a bitch and they gaslight you when they're doing stuff to, like, really annoying, mean, bully type stuff 24/7 on the daily. And then they expect you not to get annoyed about it. And then they'll gaslight you and call you a monster when you start acting like a bitch. This is the stuff that happens in this program. Anyway, so that was another thing that I wanted to document, y'all. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to talk about with that note. It's just like I noticed the amp up started after I started working out in the gym and I started working again, just doing security, not even really doing anything more than that. And that seems to even that to be a problem. It just was so reminiscent of what happened last year when I was doing the coding, and I'm throwing that stimuli every minute all of a sudden. It's weird. Anyway, next, moving on to the next thing, y'all. Called threat and sociopath when it's a projection of what's being done to you. Constantly being sent violent things and perverted, creepy things. Reference taste, small hole, tight, eat. Programming guinea pig with impacted small, tight hole sent and recommended. Also about guinea pig with dry cum in mouth. I know that sounds crazy, y'all. You're probably like, what the I know that sounds crazy. So basically, it's kind of a play off of what I talked about in my reactive abuse video, part 2. The last video I posted. Check it out, y'all. I just posted it today. Watch that video before you watch this one. I know it's kind of late to be saying that now if you're this far in the video. But check that video out, y'all. It's just me talking about, kind of similar to what I was talking about just now, reacting to the covert harassment and then kind of getting painted as a monster for your reaction to their abuse. And that's part of it. I was talking about some of the creepy stuff they've been sending me, like the tight hole thing and, this weird, just freaky stuff, y'all, and violent stuff. Again, a play off the death thing that I was telling you, where they keep all of a sudden sending stuff about funerals or people jumping out windows, just really creepy, evil, ominous stuff. And I'm like, thank the Most High that I'm so grounded, because it's like, imagine if somebody with a weaker mind were going through this. This is what they do to targets. It's not just me. They do this to all targets. And it really just depends on what's going on at the moment in your targeting, because some targets are getting that stimuli more than others. And for me, it's been this off and on thing. Like, I notice certain moments where I'm being more productive is when they start to push it at me more. Like I said, it's reminiscent of last year when I was doing the coding. That's when I was getting the amp up in that type of stimuli. It's weird. Y'all, I gotta blow my nose, and this is not like the recorder app that I had on my Android, so I can't pause it. So I'm gonna try to put the phone out the window so y'all don't hear me blowing my nose. It's a long video, y'all. Remember, I told y'all I have sinus issues, so I do apologize for that. I'm going to put the phone out the window. I'm going to blow my nose real quick. And all now as I speak, y'all, they're just biting me. That's another new tactic that I wrote down that I wanted to talk about too. It's this new thing they've started doing, like the last 2 weeks they started doing this here at work, where they're using the insect drones in my vehicle now. It's always been here, they've been watching me, but they're purposely flying it for me to see now. They're flying it in my face, the mosquitoes, but not just the mosquitoes, these little small tiny gnats. They're flying in my face and they're reminiscent of sandflies. I don't know if you've ever gone to the beach in the evening time, right? And those little like small flies that are, in the sand that bite you. That's similar to what these feel like. It's like these little, it's not even, it's worse than a mosquito bite. It feels like a little small pinch, and there's so many of them, and they keep pinching you, and they're just all night long torturing me with these insect drones. And that's a new thing they also started doing these last 2 weeks. In addition to the other new stuff that they started amping up and doing for no reason. It's another thing they started doing. So it's just really weird. It's just this amp up in what they're doing for no reason. So I'm documenting all of it. So that's also part of what they've been doing recently. Just attacking me with the insect drones in my vehicle all night long. And biting me with the little gnat drones all night long. All my feet, y'all, I have to bring my sweater and cover my arms to protect myself because they're biting me up so much. All my, I woke up yesterday, I think it was, or day before yesterday, and I saw my hip, these big five huge bites. It's worse than a mosquito bite. It's almost like some sort of weird insect bit me, where it's itchy and this big huge bump. It looks like it's reminiscent of, I almost want to say, I don't want to say a centipede bite. Like if you go out into the forest or the rainforest or something, then you get bit by like those real big, huge whopper mosquitoes. That's similar to what it is. It's like these big, huge bites all on my hip. I'm like, what is this? It's like, why are they biting me up like this? And then in the car, all my arms, I'm getting bumps all over my arms because they're biting me all night long with the insect drones, with the little gnats. I'm like, why are they doing this? So it's just like this amp up in the targeting, just in general. Ever since I started working again and working out in the gym, I know it's just this amp up in the targeting and in the things they're sending me violent stuff, like I said, referencing death and funerals and creepy, evil, ominous things. I rebuke it in the name of Yeshua. But then also freaky stuff, y'all, man. I'm telling you, like I already talked about it in my last video, like I said. Like they sent me this thing about the guinea pig. I talked about this in my last video with the impacted hole where they were supposedly, I guess, pulling poop out of its butt. So that was the stimuli, the shit. But then they're also talking about, it was a small, tight hole. And I talked about the tight stimuli in the last video, y'all. So go check it out. But they're sending me this thing about tight, and I told y'all how that started, something they did to me, where they landed the insect drone in the toilet while I was using it in the old neighborhood. I'm not going to talk about it too much again in this video, y'all, how that started. Excuse me, but they're using that, and they also have recently been sending me things about small holes. And just weird, creepy stuff, y'all. Freaky stuff about balls and just freaky stuff, man. And tasting and eating. And it's the way they're the person licking up and just weird, freaky stuff, man. Freaky stuff. I even went in the hair store the other day to get a dryer. And the guy is purposely having like this conversation with innuendo in it. And he's talking about eating. And it's the way he said it. He looked at me. I was just like, oh my God, like what the hell? Like they're like programming my brain. They're not only sending it to me via the video, but then in person, some of them are presenting the same stimuli and just programming my brain with freaky stuff, man. Just real freaky stuff. Anyway, so that's just, part of what's been happening too. Just sending a lot of freaky, weird, ominous stuff and dark stuff that I wanted to document. Oh, also another guinea pig video they sent me. This is what I'm trying to explain to you how perverse it is. They sent me another guinea pig video where the guinea pig's mouth was like shut. The thing couldn't even open its mouth, and it was stuck with this what's called something. I think they called it guinea pig glue. And it was this big, huge wad of stuff in the thing's mouth. And its mouth was like shut. And they had to like kind of try to pry out what was in the mouth. The lady, she was trying to pull what was in the mouth out. Come to find out what it is cum. Basically, I guess guinea pigs do this self-cleaning thing where they clean themselves. And so sometimes, I know this is a TMI, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to explain to you the nastiness these people are sending me, The thing will seal up, will close up the mouth. It'll dry up and it'll create like this thing where their tongue is stuck and their mouth is stuck closed with their own, and so this is what they're sending to me. This freaky stuff, man. And I'm supposed to be the one with the problem, and you're sending me all this weird stuff. And again, they know I don't have a problem, y'all. Again, it's this spiteful vigilante retribution and painting of false narratives to malign me and make me feel what it feels like to be accused. But how far are you going to take it? It's been years. You still doing this? I apologize. Why are you still doing it? And why are you taking it so far? That's what I don't understand. It's disturbing. After what I saw with the lady today, I don't know how much more further are they going to start walking around naked? Is that going to be the next step? Because that was really far. Anyway, let me go next to the next thing y'all know. Another thing, prostitute and hoe stimuli. Yeah, that just goes along with the perversion. Like, they keep insinuating that I'm a hoe. You know, every time I'm watching these movies and you're seeing somebody acting loose, like, for instance, Think Like a Man 2, Taraji P. Henson, her part in it, where she was more so like the go-getter boss lady, but she went and she slept with the dude on the first night. In that scene where she's sleeping with him on the first night, they're flying the insect drone in my face and they're making noises with the bird drones. And every time hoe or prostitute or anything in these movies gets mentioned, they're doing noise campaign. They know full well I ain't no hoe. They know full well I'm not a prostitute. They've listened to my story. They're watching me freaking, like, they're so obsessively watching me, y'all, and doing research. They're doing thorough research on me. They know full well I'm not no hoe. And they're purposely trying to, again, another false narrative to malign me, paint these false narratives to make me feel accused and make, you know, this kind of way. Like, it's just, it's really twisted what's being done. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. Oh, yeah. The other thing they sent me, lusty wench. Another thing they sent me. The Jamie Foxx show. They were going ham with that, y'all. I was going to actually do a recording to do more shadow networking. Show y'all how they were shadow networking with that. They were going crazy with the Jamie Foxx show, y'all, how they were shadow networking. But I decided not to record it. And I just said, I've shown y'all enough examples of how they do this thing. And I didn't feel the need to record that as well. You know, they presented the stimuli lusty wench. Lusty wench, you know. This is the stimuli they presented, lusty wench. As if I'm some sort of, like, again, vapid, you know, thirsty, man-hungry female. This is how they try to paint it. But then in the next breath, they're contradicting themselves and calling me gay. Like, which one is it? Am I freaking a thirsty, lusty wench that's chasing men, or am I gay? Which one is it? Because it really seems that the gang stalkers are bipolar and the people that's controlling the technology, and whatever mood they're in for the day is what they're going to throw at me. They keep contradicting themselves with the stuff they throw at me. It's like, okay, lusty wench 1 minute, and then the next minute I'm gay. Okay, which one is it? Because that doesn't line up. If I'm a lusty, thirsty, man-hungry wench, then that doesn't line up with me being gay, does it? You know, it's not even making sense, some of the stuff they're throwing at me. And lusty wench, by the way, y'all, because I'm working out. You know, this is what I'm saying, where I say they're like literally having an issue with me working out, because they even, with the Girlfriends movie, that's another note that you're going to see in there. With the movie Girlfriends, or not movie, the show. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that show. If you're in your 30s, late 20s, you should be familiar with that show. That was a big show back in the day, right? The 90s, early 2000s. And I used to love watching, I grew up watching that show, Girlfriends. So when I downloaded some of those shows, I was just watching it, right? Here at work. One set of shadow networking, y'all. So much shadow networking in the first episode. Again, trying to bring up that cyber stalking, cyberbullying dude. The stimuli with that. And also pushing the narrative of me being this lusty, vapid female, right? So they're using the main girl, right? I guess her ex broke up with her or whatever. He didn't want to marry her. So she was like, listen, you know, she was sitting next to him and she said, listen, if you don't see yourself marrying me, I don't think we should continue with this relationship, right? That was the start of it. He said, okay. You know, and so then they start laughing, like the mosquito starts flying in my face. I'm hearing the revving. I'm like, okay. You know, because again, that doesn't apply to me. That's never been my situation. The only situation I was in similar to that was with the ex that led me on. And that was retribution because I had broke up with him. And the way that I broke up with him, that was retribution, what happened with him in that situation. The ex I talked about in my main story. That's never been my situation. Even in the cyber stalking, cyberbullying situation. They keep trying to paint it like it was a situation where him and I messed around and he was just using me for whatever. And then basically I became this jaded lover that decided to go on a revenge tip. Like I could predict that I was going to be targeted and I was going to use the opportunity to malign him. It doesn't make sense, and they know it doesn't make sense. They've seen the messages. They've seen the video. They're literally just mad that I exposed those messages. And that's really why they're doing what they're doing. Because they feel like I deserved everything that happened to me because I bared false witness initially in the first place in my early 20s. That's really what it's about. They know full well what really happened with that situation. But they're purposely, again, kind of like the whole thing and kind of like the gay thing and the child thing and everything else, pushing false narratives to malign me. So anyway, with the girlfriend episode, after the guy said he didn't want to marry her, he said, okay. He got up, they started to do noise campaign, right? So then she's walking around for her birthday, and apparently it's her 29th birthday. And she's walking around in this dress, this tight-fitting dress. And she said, the ex came in. I guess her friends invited him to the party. And she said, look at my ass. She said, look at this tight-fitting dress. Look at my ass. And look at what you decided not to marry, what you could have had. And they started to rev by like crazy, y'all. So I think, again, insinuating me working out. And the fact that my working out, I guess they're trying to say that it's me trying to show what he could have had type of thing. I'm like, huh? They keep coming with these false narratives about the working out. Look, they're flying the mosquito drone there for that. So it's either that it's because I'm working out for him. Look, they're flying the insect drone there. I'm working out for him to show him what he could have had. Or if it's not that, then it's that I'm being thirsty. I forgot what other stupid lie, false ass narrative they were trying to throw at me about the working out. They're just pressed. They're just mad that I'm working out. Y'all, I showed y'all, right? Check out my memories from my early 20s video. I showed y'all pictures in that video, y'all, of what I looked like in my early 20s. Me in workout clothes. When that guy met me, I was working out. The pictures I had on Instagram were pictures of how my body was looking back then, and I was in workout clothes. That's why he and a lot of other guys were writing me on Instagram in my early 20s. I've been into athletics since high school. And then in my early 20s, I worked out in the gym just the same way I am now. I've been doing that for years. The only difference now is I'm targeted and everyone's looking. I've never had to worry about people trying to stop me from working out and doing what I've done my whole life. It's this weird thing, and they keep coming with these false lie-ass narratives just to malign me. So I'm just like, no, that's not why I'm working out. It's not for him. I've been doing it before I even knew him. Been doing it for years. Yeah, nothing new. And so that was something I wanted to talk about too. I just thought it was crazy, and it was just another play on the fact that it seems like the working out seems to inflame them and piss them off for what I don't know. Moving on to the next thing. I'm trying to hurry up, y'all. You see, it's already almost 2 hours. There's way more I want to talk about. I almost want to skip over some of these things because I don't want the video to be too long. Fear-mongering and sensitization to everything. Finger stimuli. Oh my God, I gotta talk about this. I can't skip over this. This new thing that they're doing now, y'all. Right? So the other day, right, I was listening. Remember I told y'all when I make these videos, I like to lay on my bed. And when they're doing whatever tactic they're doing, I like to play the video and I like to listen back to the video in a way to shut down basically the tactic they're using on me. So for instance, with the shadow networking, and all of a sudden, y'all, let me not say all of a sudden because it's been happening for a while here now, but they do this power washing thing at Wendy's on some mornings, right? But I noticed as soon as I started a video, that's when it started happening, right? But I don't want to bear false witness. It could just be a coincidence because they do that power washing thing in the mornings. But it's really loud, and y'all know how it is when you're targeted. But I'm gonna move. I'm trying to move a little bit, further away so that I'm not really hearing it as much. I might even roll up the window. The annoyance is that they're doing this insect drone thing now. So if I roll up the window, I can knock the sound out. But I'm gonna be stuck in here with the drones, and it's literally like real bugs flying around. It's so irritating. Let me see if I can roll up the windows, y'all. At least this one, the left window. That's much better. Anyways, so I forgot what I was talking about. The finger thing. So I like to play my videos, y'all, just to kind of counteract whatever tactic they're using at the time. So if it's one of those videos that they send me with the subliminal messaging, where they're basically roasting me through the video, right? Check out my part 3, example of shadow networking software utilized in targeted individuals, and you'll see more information about how they do that, how they can roast you through videos. I show an example of them doing it to another target, and I talk about my experience with it. But for example, if they're doing that roasting me through a video, I'll take it off and I'll immediately put on my part 3, the same video I just referenced, example of shadow networking software utilized on targets, and I'll play that video, and it will counteract what they were trying to do, where they were trying to humiliate me with the roasting. Just basically showing that that's something that they do to all targets. I'm sorry that you're hearing that loud noise, y'all. They're flying a bunch of these little gnats that they're biting me away in my face. Anyway, so that's basically what I'll do. I'll lay there and I'll play my video, and it knocks down the tactic right away. It makes it less effective. So anyways, that's basically what I like to do. And this was happening on this day. I don't remember what video it was that I was playing, but it was some tactic that they were using on me that I created a video for. I created a video for everything at this point now, y'all. And I was laying there this day, and one of the people in my close circle has curled with me about doing this. Basically, when I'm laying there and I'm listening to my videos, remember I told you this new house we're in is a lot smaller. You know, we're in a neighborhood where the houses are in closer proximity. You know, you can hear your neighbor farting. You can hear the person in the next room farting. You know, it's just very close proximity. And so that's also why I don't even like to create these videos at the house anymore. It's always like seems to be some sort of problem. I'm always getting interrupted. So I try to do it at work. But when it comes back to listening to my videos while I'm laying there in the bed, you know, sometimes when I make a good point, I'll clap because I'm aware of the fact that I have a live audience and the gang stalkers are always listening and interacting via noise campaign. So when I make a good point, I'll clap or I'll snap my fingers. And I've gotten curled with so many times from the person in my close circle about doing that, like real curly should have curled with me for doing it, that I stopped doing it, right? So this day in question, and this is the first time they've seen me doing this, y'all. It's a whole year and a half since my targeting has changed and since I've been home from trying to relocate. This is the first time they have seen me doing this. So they can't create something with this, and it's obvious trolling. They're really just, it's not like the other symbol where that was more scary for me. This is more so like obvious trolling. But still, I want to talk about it and document because you know how they create stuff. So I'm like, let me talk about the shit, right? So instead of clapping or snapping when I made a point, instead I would just point. I'd just be like, see, there, you know, like I wasn't saying it. But I'm just trying to give you an example. You know, like when you make a point and you point, like, yeah, that, you know, that kind of way. I was just pointing my finger every time I made a point. And so I noticed after I did that, all of a sudden, in one of the videos I was watching was this dating website, this dating show that I like to watch called Pop the Balloon on YouTube. And basically it's this dating show that this girl created on her YouTube where she kind of has like these single candidates come in. And sometimes, you know, the girls are the ones holding the balloon and the men are coming in, or vice versa. Sometimes there'll be like a lineup of men holding the balloons and the girls will be coming in. But basically it's this dating show where one guy will come in, and if it's the girls holding the balloons this time, a lineup of girls will hold the balloons. And when the guy comes in, off just visual appearance, the girls can decide to pop their balloon. If they don't, then he starts talking and, you know, the host will ask him questions. And based on his answers, you know, eventually they'll determine if any of the girls still have their balloons left unpopped at the end of the questions. So when I put that on, y'all, I noticed that they purposely started to shadow network and make the guy that came out not only wear black and white, which, you know, that's something that they started to create from last year, y'all. Remember I told you I started doing a lot of research last year when I learned I was a target, and I started finding out some stuff from other targets' pages, and I actually posted a video. If you check out my info part 1 and part 2 video, I showed you some of the targets whose pages, y'all, I don't play that. I protect myself and I document everything. I showed you some of the targets and they saw it too. They know full well where I got the info from. Again, just trying to malign me, to be spiteful. But I showed you some of the targets pages where I got the info I was learning from, like the Mason stuff, which I regret ever talking about because they tried to throw that at me so hard. All of this stuff they tried to throw at me, y'all, with all of the stuff they saw me learning, I learned it in front of them, y'all. They started trying to kind of paint it like that's what I had going on. And so when I realized what they were doing, and again, I hadn't learned the shadow networking technology yet, y'all, or the way that they use the technology to social engineer and paint false narratives and to frame individuals. I hadn't learned it yet. So I was just innocently doing research, not ever thinking they're going to turn it around. Why would I do that? Why would I ever be a part of that and then be talking about it? They're flying the stuff in my face purposely to malign me and then be purposely sitting there and talking about it on camera. Who is that stupid? You know, again, this goes back to the texting. I talked about this already. Why would I, if I were in there doing anything, send a text to you and rat on myself? Or why would I think you would be so stupid that you would think I was in there doing something and you would start making noises in the hallway instead of busting the door open? It's obvious I sent the text because I thought you were doing the same thing to me that was happening to me in the Airbnbs before I came home. It's similar to the Walmart situation that I talked about in my full story and in some of my recent videos as well. Why the hell, if I were stealing or trying to steal, and y'all, you would have to have checked out my prior videos to know what I'm talking about. I'm not about to tell the story again. Why, if I were trying to steal, would I call the CSM, the manager over all the cashiers, over to help me? It's not making sense. You know, at this point, some of the stuff they throw at me, they know full well it's not making sense, and they still do it. They just do it just to do it. But anyway, with that Freemason thing, I started learning a lot of stuff and talking about it in my videos openly because I was never thinking they were going to try and paint it like it was me because I knew they saw me doing the damn research. I'm sorry, y'all, they're flying a bunch of stuff in my face, y'all, purposely too, to be spiteful. They're doing it to be spiteful and to malign me. Anyway, so with that stuff, y'all, they saw me learning that information, y'all. They saw every time I learned it because they were watching me do it. And then I would make videos as soon as I learned what I learned, and I would talk about it. And a lot of the stuff they were sending to me too via the shadow networking. So likely they're the ones that are the damn Masons, right? Anyway, so anytime I would learn new stuff, I would post about it. But check out my info part 1 and part 2 video where I actually showed you some of the targets whose page I got the info from. Like public enemy number 1. That target, who's now missing, by the way, y'all. I hope he's okay. But he's one of the ones I got the info from. So I started doing research on the Masons, and I started looking into the black and white and the checkers. And just from doing research, y'all, who told my stupid ass to do that? They took it and they started creating stimuli with it. So that's something else they like to do, the black and white thing. But they don't do that really as much as they do the red and white thing and the plaid. The plaid is the main thing more than anything else that they try to sensitize me to. It's nothing else really. You know, sometimes they do the black and white. That's like a very slight thing that they do. It's more so the red and white and the plaid. But mainly the plaid is what they try to sensitize me to. So anyway, after I saw what they were doing last year, and that was before, again, I learned about the shadow networking technology and the fact that they actually purposely do this to targets. Like they paint false narratives and they use the technology to smear your name and to social engineer false narratives and malign you. And before I learned that, I just remember being freaked out, you know, because I realized the things that I was talking about, they were taking it and creating false narratives. And I remember shitting my pants. I was like, wait a minute, this is what they're doing? I got scared, y'all. I stopped talking about that stuff completely. I completely stopped talking about that stuff in my videos. But at that point, it was kind of just too late. It was just still this thing that they had as stimuli, as in addition to everything else that they were using against me. So anyways, let me go back because I'm going off on a tangent. I'm trying to remember why I talked about that. Hold on. Oh, the finger thing. Pointing every time I looked down made me anxious. Right. So I was just talking about the fact that they sensitize me to things, right? And so it just really kind of scares me, anything that they start creating. Because I remember what they did with the Mason thing. I remember what they did with the initial symbol that I did with my hand. That's the only thing I could not explain. That thing still to this day chills me because I can't explain why I did it with my hand. But I can prove that they have the technology to control your mind and your body. And that was around the time when they were sending me the death threats. That was the first time they did it. They're doing it now too. But around that time when I was doing the coding and the tech, that was what was going on. And I wasn't doing the poetry yet. I hadn't even started doing my poetry again, y'all. And by the way, I've been doing poetry since middle school. I've been writing poetry since middle school. And the people in my close circle knows that. So it's not anything that's new for me. I've been doing it for years. So for them to now create this false narrative, it's like, why now? If that were the case, right, that false narrative they tried to paint, why wasn't I getting that stimuli sent to me before I left Island? Why wasn't I doing the poetry before I left Island? Why would I get up and pack my stuff after this weird gang stalking thing started on Island that I didn't know what it was? I didn't even know what a target was at the time. Why would I pack up my stuff and leave and try to start over instead of starting the poetry? Why would I pack up my stuff and try to leave? Why did the poetry start 2 years, almost 3 years into my targeting randomly after you started freaking sensitizing me to things and freaking sending me that stuff because I was trying to become a developer? That was what happened. I was sitting there creating projects from sun up to sundown. I was sitting there learning how to code. That's what I was doing. And they kept sending the death threats similar to what they're doing now because I'm working out. And just really just taking the current and doing stuff to malign me. And it was just turning really gnarly. And so I remembered feeling like there's nothing I can do. You know, they're having a problem with everything. And so I remember just laying on the bed looking up at the roof. And I was like, man, they always watching me. This is how I felt. And so in my head, I just started thinking of the poem, oh, they watching, they always watching, like how the supervisor be when you clock in, except they never stopping. It started with a text. What I didn't expect was what happened next. It's just a poem, y'all. And I wrote the poem, and I just sat there and I wrote the poem, and I said, let me record this. It sounds kind of dope. And I downloaded my BandLab, and I recorded it, and I liked it. And so then I started doing poems. Randomly, y'all. Almost 3 years into my targeting. Why would I randomly start doing it just then? It's not adding up, the false narrative. And why wasn't I getting the stimuli, the weird, creepy stimuli, before I left Island? Why did that start being sent to me after I left and made the enemies that I made in the mainland? After I sat in my car in Florida and I shared the offensive Hebrew Israelite propaganda and the stuff about America and the eagle. Let's use our head here. They're just painting another false narrative with their technology. This is what they do. Now, as far as the symbol goes, I can't explain why I did it, y'all. I think they were trying to frame me. I can prove to you that they have the technology to control. Look at that. Look, they flew the thing in my face when I said that. That's crazy. That's crazy, y'all. They never saw me do that symbol before I left this island. All of a sudden, I make all these damn enemies in the mainland. I come back, they're using all this technology on me. I microchip. The RFID chip is in my brain. And I randomly do that symbol after they're sending me death threat after death threat because I'm coding. Let's put it together. You know, so check out my evidence of mind control technology, y'all, to find out more information about the RFID chip and how they can control your body with the technology. Anyway, I'm not trying to go into too much details about it. I done bust that thing down, y'all. I'm not even trying to sit here talking about that again. But I wanted to just talk about this finger stimuli before they try to create something with that too. Because they do this thing where they come with the shadow networking and act like it's a joke. But low-key, they'll try and see if they can make it a thing. And if it doesn't work, then they'll just act like it's trolling. So I like to bust these things down in the videos just for my protection. So anyway, after that day, right, where I was listening to my video and I was pointing every time I made a point in place of snapping and clapping like what I normally do and I get cussed out for, all of a sudden I notice I'm watching the Pop the Balloon dating show and the guy's wearing the black and white. That's why I started talking about the Mason thing. The guy's wearing the black and white. Mind you, they hadn't provided that stimuli in a while. The guy is wearing the black and white and he's pointing his finger. And it was weird too. It didn't even look normal. The way he was pointing his finger, like it was obvious shadow networking, like he's holding the mic and his fingers just pointing out. And so it's like, wait a minute, wasn't I just pointing when I just was listening to my video? Like they heard me thinking about it. I even thought about it. You know, I said it out loud. I said, well, wait a minute. I said, wasn't I just pointing when I was making my video? I said, why are they pointing? You know, I said, what, are you kidding me? I said, they're going to turn this into stimuli now? Because I was just pointing when I was listening to my video? I said, I wasn't even pointing the way he's pointing. I was just going like, yeah. You know, this kind of way, like when you're pointing, you're making a point. I can't even show y'all what I'm doing. It was not even nothing like how he was pointing his finger. So I'm like, what the hell are they trying to create now? You know, I'm like, what is this? And I remember just getting freaked out by it. I was just like, let me just, as soon as I can, make a video about this. I made a note to make a video about it. And they kind of started turning it into this joke trolling thing. Where all of a sudden they just started sending it in this kind of joking way. And using the word shit. And doing all the other shadow networking that they're doing. They tried, like, it's kind of like this joking thing where they tried to make it a joke. Like, they tried to turn it into a joke. But that didn't sit with me. Like, I just don't trust these. You know, I'm trying not to sound like that because then they're going to really do more. But nobody could blame me for saying I don't trust after what happened to me last year. I don't trust. With the way it felt like I was, like they were actively, it felt like trying to frame me last year. I'm just saying what it felt like. I'm not being false witness. I'm just saying what it felt like. I don't play that. Like, when they start doing something, I immediately want to talk about it and bust it down. And so now it's this weird thing now where I'm feeling awkward about my finger. You know, you use your index finger in everyday life all the time. Like, I'm like feeling weird to use my finger. You know, there's this other video that this person in my close person sent me. I think it was at the beginning of this year or towards the end of last year. And it was this thing about signals and people that rub their eye in their nose and they're doing signals. And she sent me a weird video like that. So now I'm like, why is she sending me this? I'm like, so she's trying to say that I'm signaling the people that she contacted because I sent the text message. Is she saying that I'm signaling them? You know, I couldn't it baffles me when the people in my close circle come with this stuff, because I'm like, you contacted these people. How could I have how could I foretell if I were a part of whatever it is you're trying to create? Because if we sit here and we logically think about the accusation, it doesn't make sense. I sent you a text that resembles what was happening to me in the Airbnb. I called you bawling, crying on the phone because of what was happening to me in the Airbnb. I come home, we get in the big fight. I send you a text, not accusing you, asking you if you're doing to me what was happening in the Airbnb. This big, huge thing is created from the text. Whoever was contacted that created this program, me being in this program, was contacted. Now you're going to spend it like I'm in cahoots with the people you contacted. Like, it baffles me. It's crazy. You're going to spend it like I'm in cahoots with the people you contacted. And I'm being tortured daily. It doesn't even make sense. And I realize I've been being trolled the whole time and I'm an idiot for falling into it. Get out my face. Look, they fly the thing in my face just now. So it's just horrible what they're doing, y'all. It's just like real bullying, man. Anyway, I'm trying to be careful because then I'm not saying that person in my close circle is bullying me. I don't want to end up in the streets. I'm just saying I'm saying the bullying thing because they literally just flew the thing in my face when I said I was being trolled the whole time, because that's terrible. What happened to me last year, even with the, you know, when I suspect I was hit with the energy weapons for 2 months and I got really skinny and the angst and the shaking on cameras, all of that is so terrible. Look, they're making the rooster go off. It's horrible. Anyway, y'all, so I just wanted to talk about that finger thing and just bust that down because I just thought that was crazy. But they've been more so making it like a joke thing, obviously. It just seems like one big trolling thing the more I think about it. But I still wanted to talk about it. Anyway, on to the next thing, y'all. I need to blow my nose again. Give me a minute, y'all. Give me 1 minute. Y'all hear the rooster drone going off? Y'all hear that? That's them antagonizing me. Anyway, let me go ahead and continue. With the next thing. Dream manipulation, gaslighting, stimuli and vid, lusty fantasy. Oh, this is a play off of the lusty wench thing, right? Because in the Jamie Foxx show, remember I told you they were gaslighting me like crazy? He was talking about lusty fantasies, and, you know, this was in the same episode where he was calling the girl a lusty wench. I'm talking about lusty fantasies, and remember I just did the dream manipulation video, y'all, where I strongly suspect they sent that dream to me. Remember, check out my videos, the diagram of neuromonitoring effects. You know, one of the symptoms or effects of this technology is they can send you vivid dreams. I've done 5 dream manipulation videos, y'all. And in each video, I provided evidence to show you that they have the capability to send you vivid dreams. And it's these weird, vivid, very vivid dreams that they keep sending me. And so the last dream that they sent me, the Dream Manipulation Part 5 video, if you check it out, if you've seen it already, I'm talking about this dream they sent me about this muscular guy. You know, I'm not going to go into the details about it in this video. But it was this dream basically that, you know, it was a sexual dream. And so I talked about it. I documented it. I'm documenting everything for my protection. Look at this. Look, they're sending the mosquito now to gaslight. Look at that. To gaslight. Right? Now, mind you, I'm a 32-year-old woman. I'm not even sexually active. I'm celibate. They're watching me 24/7. They never see me watching freaky stuff. I'm never acting freaky. I'm very introverted and to myself. They know I'm not even really a sexual person like that. They're just trying to antagonize me again because of... It's this thing they're doing, y'all. I'm trying to explain it to you. It's this thing they're doing to malign me, where they're purposely painting false narratives to get under my skin. So with this dream, I strongly suspect they sent it to humiliate me. And if you listen to the part of the video I was listening to at the time, when I fell asleep and had the dream, you'll understand why I think they were trying to humiliate me when that dream was sent to me. And they're going to gaslight me and talk about lusty wench, right? And then have him talking about lusty fantasies. So I believe that was a play on that. They were teasing me about that, and I wanted to talk about that very, very briefly. Anyway, let me skip over, y'all. Skip over. Speaking about the symbol thing, though, I want to talk about this very briefly because I try not to talk about people in my close circle in these videos. I really do, right? But something happened in that same video I was just talking about, where they were presenting the finger stimuli. I noticed that they also presented the name, and I can't say it now because then it's going to be too overtly obvious who I'm talking about. But it's a name that begins with J, right? They presented that name, and they tried to sensitize me to that name at the beginning of last year. Now, mind you, this is going to kind of reveal who I'm talking about, but still I'm not going to say the name in this video. In my story, if you listen to my story, I was in a relationship with this Colombian guy when I was staying in the Airbnbs, right? In the second Airbnb, I was with him. So I was with him for a few months, right? And he was a part of, kind of that journey with what was happening to me in the Airbnbs, at least the second one, not the first one and not the third one. He actually lived with me in the second Airbnb, right? And he shares the same name as of somebody in my close... I'm trying to word this without, revealing who I'm talking about. He shares the same name as somebody in my close circle, right? And so they used to try to sensitize me to him, because I talked about the fact that I was with him for a few months and, I wanted him to live with me because of what was happening in the Airbnbs and stuff. They were kind of making noise campaigns anytime that I would talk about the situation and kind of trying to insinuate like I was using him. This is how they tried to insinuate it. And that's another false narrative that they like to insinuate, like I use men, right? They try to insinuate that. It's just another false narrative, one of many. That's not true. And so that was something that they were doing, though. They were sensitizing me to his name. And so whenever that name would be mentioned, I would act awkward. And so I believe what happened is a lot of people are watching me and a lot of people are privy to these cameras. And so I believe this person in my close circle is privy to these cameras as well. I think this is some sort of fascinating thing that they're all watching and can't really peel their eyes away from. And so it's just like I'm on display, kind of like a circus freak is what it feels like. You know, that's the best way I can describe it. You know, like when you go to the fair and you see those people that have like whatever disability it is that they have that's being exploited for the circus. That's kind of what this feels like, where my life is on display for people's entertainment. And so that's basically what's going on. And I believe he saw, or one of them, somebody in my close circle saw that I was acting awkward to that name. And instead of them putting it together that it was the Jay that I dated, that I talked about in my full story that they kept doing noise campaigns for, I assumed that they thought I was doing that for him, which is so random because, again, he lives nowhere near me. I have no access to him. There's no motive for me to have done anything to him. So again, I just feel like it was trolling. But low-key, I do feel like they still were trying to paint false narratives. Like, it's this weird thing. It's like, I can't even tell anymore if it's all just trolling. Because I saw that person in my close circle writing the word great on his page as well. So I can't tell if it's just trolling and he's annoyed with me too. Because of what I said about Christians, because he's a pastor. So I don't know if it's just trolling, him presenting some of the stuff he was writing on his page, or, you know, I can't really tell, but I just know I was extremely offended. And if you check out my false allegations video that I posted last year, the thumbnail literally says false allegations, y'all. You'll have to scroll down to see that video. You'll hear me talk about that person in my close circle and what they kind of started trying to insinuate with him last year. So I knocked that down. You know, I'm not even going to really talk about it too much in this video. Sorry, y'all, I'm hearing ref campaign. What the hell? I knocked that thing down, y'all. Check it out. I'm not even going to go into the details about it right now. It's just so ridiculous. You know, it's just this thing they started doing where they were purposely trying to paint it like anything that went wrong with anybody in my close circle, even if it was somebody far distant that lived nowhere near me, they're trying to paint it like I had something to do with it, to malign me. It was crazy. Right? And so I knocked it down in that video, talking about basically some of what he was going through and how that was something that, from what I understand, had been happening for years. You know, not really trying to talk about his business too much because that's not what I'm trying to do. But then I'm seeing all this stimuli and I'm offended. I'm like, you know, it makes me want to address the thing again. I already talked about it in that video and I was done. But I think he probably even saw that video and was offended. I don't know. But I had to make that video because they were insinuating crazy shit. You know, someone in my close circle was on the phone with someone else in my close circle, and they were presenting stimuli as it pertained to him and referencing it in a way like I had something to do with it. And so that's why I made that video not the end of last year. It was last year. I don't even remember when. It was quite a few months ago. It was last year. But I made that video and I knocked that down and really explained that the awkward interaction or reaction, that I was having to that name was actually for my ex and not him. Right? And so I knocked that thing down and that was pretty much done. They kind of stopped, you know, they realized it was stupidness. And they stopped presenting that stimuli for me. They stopped presenting it. But then I noticed now when they're doing the finger thing, to be spiteful, because they had seen me read a post for that same person in my close circle recently where he provided the stimuli. Literally, I want to say like 2 to 3 days prior to them presenting that finger stimuli in that video, and that pop the balloon video, where then the next guy that came out had that name, the J name, that they were trying to sensitize me to. They're watching me like a hawk and they're using anything they can to malign me. Literally 3 days prior to them presenting his name in that video, I had read a post for him on Facebook, right? And I try not to read Facebook posts. I really do. Because I know a lot of shadow networking is going on, first of all. So they are actually using their technology to change posts and stuff. And then there are people who are genuinely inserting stimuli. Remember I told you not everyone is against me, but a lot of people are? I don't know who's who, right? I can't tell who's doing what from what. I can't tell who's sincere from who's insincere. You know, and that's what's really scary about being in this program and being targeted, especially to the capacity that I am, right? It's really scary because you don't know who's who and you don't know who's against you and who's for you. Anyways, and the people who are for you are typically too scared to step forward and really say that they are for you. But anyways, you know, I saw this post for him and the only reason I read it was because it was at the top of my news feed. I don't read people's posts on Facebook because of what's happening with me. But they made sure to stuff that post at the top of my newsfeed, and that's also why I thought it was shadow networking, and I kind of just brushed it off and I didn't really take it personally, right? So I saw this post that he wrote, you know, basically like he got a new house, and in the post he was writing something about sacrifice and eternal, and I forgot what else he wrote. He used the word eternal, and he also used, I think, the word great. I can't remember. I don't have the post in front of me right now, but several trigger words that made me realize, like, whoa, is this stimuli? They even started doing noise campaign in the neighborhood when I read the post, because even they peeped the fact that it had stimuli in it. So I was just honing in on the word eternal, and I thought about my poem Eternal, and I thought about the fact that I didn't realize they could shadow network like how I do now. You know, I was talking about targeting through the TV last year, but I didn't know how far the thing could go or how advanced the shit was, right? Or that they could change videos in real time. I didn't realize that. So they did this thing last year where I even deleted, and now I regret doing it because I realized what they were doing, and it was a good ass poem too. I'm so mad I deleted that shit. But out of fear, I deleted it because like, oh my God, this looks bad. And I didn't realize it was shadow networking, right? Or the fact that they could change videos in real time. I'm only now recently catching on to everything. I would have never deleted that poem. Anyway, so I remember that I was watching this Target. They sent to me in my newsfeed, go figure, shadow networking. And I didn't realize that that's what was going on. And I watched a video for her, right? And so she was talking about how in targeting, when you're targeted, sometimes they could be using witchcraft on you. And she was talking about some sort of witchcrafting that he wrote on his page, by the way. When I went through his post, I'm going to tell you how I saw the post in a minute, right? But something about witchcraft, and I forgot the name of what kind of witchcraft it was, but some sort of witchcraft where they have eternal life. And, you know, so when I heard the word eternal, they started doing noise campaign. I remember them doing noise campaign in the background. I remember shaking in my boots. This was when I was still having those awkward reactions on camera. And I was like, eternal life. I was like, oh shit, my poem is called Eternal. I was like, this doesn't look good. You know, this was when they were getting me good. When they were doing the shadow networking and I didn't realize they were doing it. So again, it was another moment like in my car in Florida when they were sending me the stuff about predators and I was shaking on my boots then too, and the gang stalkers were speeding by and making me feel crazy. They did that and I was shaking my boots. I was like, oh shit, now it really looks like my poetry is some sort of weird whatever. So immediately when I deleted my Eternal video. So I think that's what he's running with, where he's using the stimuli Eternal, not realizing that these people can change the technology and just about create anything they want with their damn technology. So that witchcraft shit they slapped together was shadow networking. And had I known that back then, I would not have deleted my poem. Because that was a good ass poem, that Eternal poem that I put together. But I deleted it out of fear. So anyway, he had all that stimuli in the post. I was like, this is shadow networking. I'm like, I'm good with Uncle so-and-so, right? You know, I'm thinking him and I are good. He just recently liked to post for me. I like to post for him. For someone else in my close circle that had this big birthday party, right? That's what I did see, and that's the positive thing. I said I wasn't seeing all this other stuff he was posting on his page. I hadn't seen it because I wasn't on his page, and I don't really go in my news feed like that. So I just saw that one post, and I was like, that's probably shadow networking. I'm like, I don't think he really wrote that like that. I'm like, they're shadow networking. I even laughed. I was like, they are shadow networking. That's what I thought in my head, and I came off. Now I see 3 days later when they're presenting the finger thing, then they presented his name, tried to throw that in there, and they purposely did it because I had read that post where the noise campaigns happened just 3 days prior. You know, it was like 2 or 3 days prior. I'm like, okay, they're just throwing that in there because they saw me read that post for him. I said, let me go to his page right now. I said, I know what y'all are doing. Y'all are doing that because I read that post for him a couple days ago. So I said, let me go to his page right now. So I'm on his page and I'm going through his posts. And I'm realizing like he's posting a bunch of stuff, like basically pertaining to me and my situation, and false accusations and stuff, and weird stuff too about symbols and this and that, and weird creepy stuff about the music industry. And I'm just like, what the hell is this? You know, the stuff he was posting. I was like, really? I said, I thought we were good. Look at the big nasty insect. I'm like, I thought we were good. I'm like, why is he posting this type of stuff? I'm like, I thought we were good. You know, I didn't understand why he was posting that stuff when he had literally just tagged me in a post for someone in my close circle that had this big birthday party that I wasn't able to attend. So I was just like, wait a minute. I'm like, he's posting all of this, and why are you friends with me on Facebook if you feel this way? I'm like, why are you tagging me and stuff and liking my stuff if you feel this way? I'm like, what is this? You know, but then I also noticed he was posting great and stuff, and a lot of his posts were using the word great. And so I'm like, is this just to be spiteful? Is he mad at me because I said this stuff about Christians? Because he's a pastor. I'm like, is he mad at me because I said this stuff about Christians in my car in Florida? Is it because of the false allegation video I made last year where I kind of talked about his personal issues to clear my own name? Because I'm like, these are things he has been experiencing for years. So why all of a sudden now I'm targeted? I'm responsible? Like, huh? You know, so this is what I talked about in my false allegation video. So I'm like, is it that he's upset with me for that, and that's why he's doing these type of posts? This is what I was thinking. Look, they're flying this insect in my face again. Gaslighting, because again, they're the ones who painted the false narrative about him and his problems. Listen to my false allegation video, y'all, where they were insinuating stuff about his problems and me. And that's what made me make the video in the first place, so I won't be gaslit. Anyway, so I just started seeing a bunch of posts, y'all. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I gotta talk about this in my video. I'm like, are you serious? Like, this is crazy. You know, it's like I even unfollowed him. You know, I didn't unadd him because I've been friends with this person for years on Facebook, and I've had a good, decent relationship with him. As far as I knew, there wasn't a problem. So I couldn't find myself unadding him, but I definitely unfollowed him. I don't want to see his stuff anymore at all after seeing all that stuff on his page. I'm like, what? You know, I just thought it was crazy, man. And you just start to see like true colors when you become targeted, people's true colors, and who's really like for you or against you in this kind of way, right? For people to turn against you so easy because you're targeted. It's just like you start to realize like, whoa. Anyway, let me move on to the next thing, y'all. I don't want to stay on that too long, and the video's getting to be too long. Let me see where I'm at here with this video. 2 hours and 20 minutes. Let me try to hurry up and finish up now. Constantly throwing the word bully at me. That's the next thing I want to talk about. And I don't want to stay on that too long, y'all. That's kind of, it's not irrelevant. It's a major thing, but that's another stimuli they keep throwing at me. You know, kind of just constantly sending me videos about bullies. And, you know, one of the people they keep trying to sensitize me to, I keep saying this, is Dr. Heavenly from Married to Medicine. You know, they keep trying to play it like I'm Dr. Heavenly when I'm nothing like her. First of all, Dr. Heavenly is extremely extroverted, right? I'm an introvert. I'm not an outspoken person. I am now because I'm targeted and I had to advocate for myself. I make videos, right? Dr. Heavenly is out there running and blabbing her mouth and making videos and talking about just about anyone for no reason, unprovoked. She's fine. She's living a good life. She's married up on her high horse. There's no reason for her to talk about the things she's talking about. She's just doing it for the hell of it. Prior to my targeting, nobody heard my mouth. I was quiet as a peep, minding my business. I'm making videos for my own protection, and anybody that I talk about directly impacted me or my life or had something to do with my story. I didn't just sit here randomly talking about people for the hell of it like Dr. Heavenly does. And our personalities don't even match. Again, I'm introverted and she's an extroverted big blabbermouth. So them trying to paint it like I'm Dr. Heavenly or any type of bully for that matter, because it's not just her. They keep trying to paint it like I'm a bully and, you know, almost like this is retribution for me being a bully. I'm like, when was I ever a bully? Like, really and truly, let's really paint it out here, because you're the bully. You're the one sending all these horrible, heinous things. You know, I'm being stared at. You're trying to humiliate me. You know, all day long doing these tactics to hurt me. How am I the bully? This whole program should be called the bully program, because it's a bunch of people ganging up on one person and bullying the hell out of them. That's really what it is. I'm just like the hypocrisy of it all. Like, you're calling me a bully as you bully me. Like, isn't that irony? You're calling me a bully as you bully me. It's irony at its finest. You're trying to stop my bullying by bullying me. My quote unquote, but what bullying? Please show me where. With the Shadow Networking, show me how I bullied anyone. Because all I've done is responded to bullying. And although the response may have been inappropriate and, what's the word I'm looking for, egregious, it was nonetheless a response. For instance, the offensive stuff I shared in my car in Florida, that was a response. For instance, these videos, that's a response to what's happening to me. So how am I a bully? You know, it's just crazy to me, and it's gaslighting. It's hypocrisy and it's gaslighting is what it is. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. They keep trying to sensitize me to God, y'all. And it's this weird thing where I'm finding myself having this very awkward reaction to the word God. I don't know what it is, but it's just, today it didn't happen. You know, they really tried it in the laundry today. And it wasn't the people that own the laundry. They're very nice. I've utilized all of their laundries for years. It was not them. All they were doing was innocently playing the radio. And unfortunately, when you're targeted, the radios are involved. So basically, everyone in the radios can see what's going on with you. So they know play by play where I'm at every day, right? So if I'm in an area where the radio is playing, they know to start playing certain things on the radio, right? So I went in there and they had it to a gospel station. And this is basically the people that own this laundry, they're 7-Day Adventists. Actually, my mom taught one of their sons, you know, at the old school that she used to work at. I told y'all she used to be a dean at the private school I went to school at when I was younger. And so she taught one. I think she even helped, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I believe he was one of the students she helped get into college, right? She was a college dean, a guidance counselor dean at that school, right? For many years. And so she knows that family very well. Very nice people, right? I've gone to their laundry, no issue. So I know it wasn't them. And I know they had nothing to do with what was playing on the radio. It was literally just that they were playing the gospel station. It's Sunday, right? It was Sunday when I did my clothes. And whoever was running the station could see that I was in there. And they started to shadow network on the radio. I couldn't believe it. I'm in there putting my clothes in the machine, and all of a sudden the gospel the gospel video starts talking about pride. And pride was the downfall of this and that, and pride and faith are not this are opposites. They're talking about pride and faith. Look at the big nasty insect by my thing now. Talking about pride and faith, and how you can't be faithful and be prideful because they're two opposites. And if you're going down the direction of pride, then you can't be going down the direction of faith. And just going in about being prideful and how pride is the downfall of this and that, and just going in on pride, y'all. I'm just like, this is gaslighting if I ever did see it. First of all, let me not go off on a tangent because I'm trying to tell you how they sensitized me to God. But I'm remembering I didn't have a reaction to that. And I was like, thank the Most High, because I keep reacting to God. It was even to the point where I was driving behind this Christian church bus on the road the other day. I did not know what to do with my face. I was so awkward because I know they're all staring at me. And I know the offensive stuff I shared in my car in Florida. And that's really what it boils down to. I feel so awkward about the stuff I shared in my car in Florida. The Hebrew Israelite propaganda, where it almost seemed like I was anti-Christian, is what it would seem like. And what it was just me being angry and feeling like the gang stalkers were being hypocrites. And so I was just sharing some of the information that I had learned that I never shared before, in addition to offensive stuff that I didn't need to share. Because everyone has the right to have their own religion and belief system. And who am I to share and project my belief system on you? I've never been that kind of person. I'm telling you, I've known a lot of stuff since high school, and I have not ever pushed my beliefs on anyone. I might have had like a friendly debate or a conversation with a guy that I was dating. I've done that before, where we're kind of debating the Bible and our understanding of it. That's happened before. But I've never been the kind out there just projecting my belief or whatever my understanding is on anyone. And actually, I even started sharing some stuff that I don't even necessarily subscribe to either, just out of anger. Because I'm sitting in my car and I'm like, these hypocrites. This is how I felt, because I felt like they were throwing stones at me for something I didn't do. And then I'm seeing all this other activity going on, and I'm just like, nah, let me do this, right? And so this is why I started sharing all this offensive stuff. And then again, punished for my reaction to their abuse. It's called reactive abuse. But nonetheless, I shared a lot of offensive stuff about Christians, like a lot of offensive stuff about the holidays, going to church on Sunday, etc. And so you have a lot of Christian people holding grudges too. But for me, I'm like, if you really are Christian, then you should know about forgiveness. And I've apologized already. So for me, if you can't forgive, you're not really a Christian. That's how I feel. But anyways, that's between them and the Most High. I don't care anymore. I already said it. I don't care if this sounds cold. I'm a real person. And that's the problem. I'm too real. And that sometimes is a detriment to me. But I can't be fake. That's the funny thing. They keep sending me this thing about being fake. But actually, my realness is what keeps getting me in problems. How I feel about it is I apologized. You can accept it or not. If you choose not to accept it, that's your prerogative. But my thing is now, I didn't commit a crime. Leave me alone. That's how I feel. I didn't commit a crime. You're doing this to malign me, to be spiteful. Leave me alone. I apologized already for the horrible things I said, right? In response to your abuse. I apologize for insinuating that the people in my close circle were outside in the hallways doing to me what was happening in the Airbnbs. So why are you still doing this? If you don't accept the apology, you don't ever have to deal with me. I'm one of those kind of girls where I could just be alone and be fine, My issue is the harassment. That's what I can't take. The illegal harassment for no reason. That's what I can't take, and they know I'm right too. That's what my argument is. I don't care if you decide not to F with me or not, or you don't like me, or you can't forget. Sorry to sound like a bitch. Sorry, not sorry. I don't really care. I didn't mean my apology, whether you accept it or not, because it's the other thing they keep trying to throw at me. Oh, disingenuous. When I actually cried. I hate crying. I tried so hard not to cry. I cried. I really meant that apology. You throwing at me disingenuous. No, you just don't want to accept it. You're holding a grudge and you don't want to accept it. Be real about it. You're disingenuous. Because you're not being real about the fact that you just don't accept the apology. You'd rather lie and say that it was a disingenuous apology because you don't want to accept it. That's fine if you don't. Again, I reiterate, I don't care. Not to sound like a bitch. I don't. That's the personality I have. But leave me alone. Not they're flying the mosquito drone in my face and shadow networking. Excuse me, not shadow networking, gaslighting. How am I a bitch? I'm supposed to sit here and cry because you don't accept my apology? I don't understand. I think I'm just too strong of a person, and that's what's making them call me a bitch. How is that being a bitch? Because I'm not crying and keeling over because you didn't accept my apology, I'm a bitch? No, like I'm being real. So you didn't accept it. That's the real fact of it all. That's you. But I did apologize, so don't lie and say it was disingenuous just because you don't want to accept it. Leave me alone is how I feel. So anyway, y'all, I have to talk about that and the sensitization to God, and it really stemming back to what I shared in my car in Florida, and then also that apology thing. I just kind of touched on it too, not to use that stimuli. Moving on to the next thing. Talk about awkwardness of both sisters. I really don't want to talk about that, y'all. I do kind of, but it's just like the videos, get out my face. The video's so long, y'all, and I'm trying to hurry up and end it, to be quite real, because look at this. You know, I was trying to keep it at 2 hours. We're already 2 hours and 30 minutes in. But I knew this would be a long one because I had a lot to talk about. It's just like so much stuff in these last 2 weeks, y'all. But I already kind of talked about what happens with my younger sister, and you know how they sensitized me to that relationship, basically because of what happened, what I said in my full story. You know, I've talked about that specifically in several videos, how that relationship is so awkward now. You know, I could go on my Facebook right now and show you, look, they have the gang stalker coming up behind my car now. Oh my God. Because I mentioned my sisters and the awkwardness, the relationship, how it's awkward between my sisters. Now they have the gang stalker walking up behind my car acting like he's shaving. Remember I told you I sometimes here at work, I like to tweeze my chin and pick hairs out of my chin? Well, one of the gang stalkers, they have him purposely with a razor. They just make him like he act like he's fake shaving to antagonize me about tweezing my chin. And they make him walk by at certain times. Like now, because I mentioned my sisters, he's walking by. Anyway, so basically it's this thing where they've sensitized me to my sisters. You know, they've made that awkward for me too. You know, if you go on my Facebook, you know, again, I don't want to put them on because I could get cussed out for it and, you know, backlash. I already get backlash about these videos. And I know I definitely don't have permission to put my sisters in a video. But on my Facebook, if you scroll down not even too far, you can see a video when I still had my car before I had relocated off island. When my younger sister, she was still in school in college in Florida. This was before she graduated. And she came down to visit. She was riding and ramping all over island with me in my car. And you could see she did a video and I was acting so normal with her. You could even say I smiled and I did the peace sign and we were having a good time. Normal. Nothing like what's happening now where it's so awkward and weird because they've sensitized me so much to that relationship. You know, so I just kind of want to talk about how they sensitize me to it. You know, it's just similar to the God thing. It's just this thing where that certain stimuli, they make me feel so awkward about it. They do so much noise campaign and stuff and I know they're staring at me. I just feel so awkward around these people or around certain stimuli. The other thing is my older sister. I completely avoid calling her. It's terrible because she and I used to be best friends, like literally best friends, like talk on the phone every day, all day long, you know, every minute calling each other, every minute going out asking for advice. Should I wear this? Should I wear that type of stuff. Where now I don't even call her at all because of what happened to me in Florida. And because I felt like, you know, it's this kind of way where I kind of just felt like she wasn't there for me. In a way, I'm not trying to like I don't want problems, you know. It's not like I'm holding a grudge or have an issue with her or anything. But I just feel like with what happened, I first of all felt like she wasn't there for me. And like out of anyone, she knew me the most. I felt like she wasn't there for me. And then also too, it's just the awkwardness and the sensitization to the stimuli about the text. You know, because the younger relative that was in the room with me when I sent the text, or the younger relatives with an S, were her children. You know, I try not to go into details too much about that stuff, y'all, because it's sensitive content and stuff that I don't really want to talk about too much in these videos and get problems, right? But those younger relatives that I've been sensitized to so much, in particularly one of them, the oldest one, it's just like I feel so awkward now about the thing, man. I feel so uncomfortable and traumatized. I'm sensitized to children in general, y'all. I'm scared of kids. Not even kids, let me use proper grammar because technically kids are baby goats. But I'm sensitized to children, y'all. But in particularly that one child, obviously that relative of mine, I feel so uncomfortable with her. It's so terrible. I just talked to her the other day on the phone and it was actually relatively normal. I'm getting better. It was relatively normal. So I'm healing myself with these videos and I'm getting better. But it's so awkward with them staring at me and the stuff they did to me in Florida. Florida was where it was at because prior to Florida, I was talking to her on the phone and things were still good. Now, after what happened to me in Florida, I just avoid contact, y'all. I'm traumatized. These people traumatize me, you know. So I'd rather not call her. I just don't. You know, it's terrible. It's horrible. She keeps calling me, why don't you call your family? But I know she's well aware of what's going on. And not just that, when I'm talking to her on the phone, I can tell she's watching me on camera. You know, there are times where I've been talking to her where I could tell I'm being watched. Like, I can't explain it. You know, it's this weird thing I can't explain where I could tell she's watching me on the camera. And so all of that's weird to me. All of that's strange to me, and it feels disingenuous. And then all these people are watching like it's a freaking telenovela or movie. My life, poppy show, freak show. You know, I'm just like, I'm not calling and giving you entertainment. And I don't like people in my business anyways. And then this is a situation that's so freaking sensitive. And specifically with that person in my close circle, I'm just like, I just avoid it, man. And I don't feel bad about it either. I feel bad about what is now of that relationship because of this unfortunate event. But I don't gaslight myself and feel bad about not calling because I know what's going on. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that because the other day, I gotta blow my nose again, y'all. Give me a second, y'all. I'm sorry. Yeah, the other day when I was at the bus stop after the gym, you know, this was the same day I was telling you I was waiting for my mom, and then that taxi guy came up to me. That was like a gang stalker. I remember I was trying to get in contact with my mom, and this was before I had gotten a phone. And I wanted to call her because she was taking longer to come than she said she would have. And so I just wanted to remind her, you know, and thank goodness there was internet at the bus stop. So I was able to at least send her a message on Facebook, but I wasn't sure she was going to check it. So I was like, damn, I'm going to have to call, you know, get in contact with one of my sisters through Facebook. And so I remember trying to call the younger one. She wasn't answering. So I had to call the older one. I felt so bad about it in that instance because even if I'm not calling you because of the situation, which I don't feel bad about, I feel bad about what's happening in general, but I don't feel bad about not calling because I know what was done and what happened, and it's not my fault. I do feel bad about now calling you when I need a favor when I don't call you for anything else. I do feel bad. I've never been that kind of person, and I just didn't want to do that. But it's like I felt like I absolutely had to call her because I needed the ride, and I had spent my $1, the dollar I was supposed to catch bus with if my mom didn't show up. I spent it on a drink because I had left my water at the house, and I had just did this vigorous workout. So I remember having to call her and thinking in my head, man, I feel bad about having to call her and I don't call her, and now I'm calling her for a favor. And I had them revving up in the road when I thought that thought. And then I got on the phone with her and I remembered her saying even to me, you know, you don't even call and check on me. You don't call your family. You know, you don't call to see how we're doing. You don't call your nieces and your nephews, but you're calling for a favor. Is what she said. She didn't say it in like an attitude, but she was just kind of saying it like she was, you know, really setting up something. She's always telling me to call them. I'm just like, I know I'm gonna call. I keep saying I'm gonna call, and you know, I know I'm probably not going to. And then in my head, I'm like, okay, well, I am gonna force myself, you know, because I'm like, I can force myself to do one awkward call with them staring and it being a poppy show for them. You know, I'm not even necessarily talking about her. I'm just talking about the gang stalkers. It's like primetime entertainment for them. I'm like, I'll probably force one call just so I could talk to them because I used to call my nieces and my nephews all the time. They're so adorable. Like I used to spoil them too when I was working and stuff, just buying them one set of stuff, big Barbie car, all kind of stuff, you know, just all kind of stuff. But it's just like this weird situation now where it's just like I just wanted to isolate and separate myself because of what happened. And so it's just in my head when I'm telling her I'm gonna call, it's not like a straight up lie. It's not like I don't intend to. I have the best intentions. I just keep thinking like, okay, one of these days I'm gonna force myself through the awkward interaction, and it just doesn't happen. I just keep feeling like I don't feel like it, and I just don't do it. Anyway, so that's basically what it is, y'all. I just wanted to talk about that. All right, moving on to the next thing. Oh, this. Oh my God. Yes, I really want to talk about this, y'all. This is an awkward topic to talk about. I just feel weird talking about it, but I need to talk about it. If you listen to my full story, you'll hear me talk about the fact that, you know, in my blackout drinking years, I did get raped. And it's awkward to talk about because it was years ago, first of all. This happened in 2016, at the beginning of 2016. As a matter of fact, I believe it was, let me make sure, it was either 2015 or 2016 when it happened. I'm trying to remember. I actually believe it was either 2015. I can't believe I can't remember, y'all. That's crazy because I knew so well. It was March of either 2015 or 2016. I believe 2016, y'all, if I'm not mistaken. March of 2016 when this thing happened, right? Basically like almost 8 years ago. But this guy, like, basically good friends with my cousin, right? Grew up seeing this guy, man. He, you know, like one of them older dudes on the block. Not older, like to say like an old man. When I say older, like a few years older than me. You know, my older sister is like 3 years older than me, and my cousin is like 3 years older than her. So this guy was like 6 or 7 years older than me. And so I grew up around him. You know, like he'd been friends with my cousin since childhood, always coming over to the house. You know, he just kind of like us, you know, kind of like a Trini family. And so kind of like the same background type of thing. And so that's why he and my cousin, I believe, made good friends. And they used to hang out and stuff, grew up around them, right? I was around my grandpa's house and in the backhand with my cousin. Because my cousin grew up, you know, with my grandparents. And so I didn't know him personally. I never knew him, never really had a conversation with the guy, but I knew of him. Like I grew up around him. You know, that kind of way, like where, you know, like an older cousin or an older brother, older sibling has a friend that you don't know personally, but you grew up around them, you know the person. It was that type of situation and that type of scenario where I didn't know him like that, but I knew him, right? And so I never knew him to be like a predator or anything like that. I had never heard anything scary about him. He actually seemed like an Irie dude, Rasta man type of thing, you know, seemed like an Irie type of guy. He didn't really seem like a dude that was like a predator, right? Look at them flying the insect and gaslighting. This is why I'm going to talk about it, right? Because I keep gaslighting, right? Anytime it's something with me, they'll purposely support the other person because they don't like me as a person. These people, right? They do not like me. And it's to the point where I could be dead right in the situation. It could be the point where you're talking something as serious as rape. And they would support that person because they don't like me as a person. That's really what it is, right? So they would paint a false narrative or whatever it is, or they'll go whatever lie it is, just to malign me because they don't like me as a person. It's really like so dark how far it is that they will go to the point where they'll support a predator. Mind you, supposedly you're doing this to me because of predator-like behavior. They know full I didn't do no predator, nothing. They've already very clearly insinuated it's about bearing false witness, and I've more than proven that the text was the same shit that was happening to me in the Airbnb, the text I sent. So they know it's not about that. But they're still purposely painting that narrative as many other false narratives to malign me for bearing what they call bearing false witness. But this is the guys you're using, right? That it's about that, right? But you would support a real predator just because you don't like me as a person? This is why I'm now talking about this and why I said let me talk about this in this video. Because I talked about it in my full story and I stopped. I haven't talked about it again. I have not talked about it. I was done talking about it. But then I noticed they keep making the dude add me on Facebook. That happened one time. I'm like, what? I said they made him add me. I'm like, does he want his name to be lambasted? I mean, you do know everyone's watching me, right? Why would you go as far as to add me on Facebook? He did it one time. I'm like, okay. I'm like, what the hell? I delete the request. I see he did it a second time from a new page. I'm like, they obviously are putting him up to this or something. Why would he add me again on Facebook? I'm like, do you want me to lambaste you in these videos? Because you know all these people are watching. Do you really want me to lambaste you? Is how I feel, because I haven't done that. And I could reveal who he is. I could put the picture. I could put his name. He deserves it. I'm not doing it. So I'm like, do you want me to lambaste you? Like, why would you keep adding me on Facebook? Are you serious? So anyway, let me talk about the situation. So with this guy, right, I got blackout drunk. I knew him. Like I said, I knew him as, I didn't know him, but I knew of him. I used to hang out with my cousin and his girlfriend back then when I was a blackout drunk. For 2 years, I was a blackout drunk. I've told you guys this in many of my videos. I've talked about it. I've been very candid about the situation. They're making the noises and gaslighting, right? I've been very candid about the situation. So when I lived in Tallahassee in my early 20s with my older sister, the drinking started. It was because of what happened with my ex-boyfriend that took my virginity. Talked about this in detail in my full story. Basically, that situation didn't work out, right? And I had kind of invested like a lot of time and a lot of whatever energy and a lot of body and a lot of me into that situation, and realized that he was just using me, right? And I'm not totally upset with him for doing it, because it's kind of like, you know, it's kind of payback, kind of, you know, I was young, right? I kind of am upset with him in a way because it's complicated, the situation. I understand where I was wrong in it, but I also see where I wasn't wrong in it, because I was young. I was in my early 20s. Actually, when I broke up with him, I was 19. When I got with him, I was 18. And I was with him for a year, and I was super young, man. They're making, again, gaslighting y'all, because I know if anybody else had said what I'm saying, they would have completely understood. Again, it's the syndrome of it being me. That's what the problem is. Remember the Mariah Huck syndrome I mentioned in my prior videos, y'all? I don't know if y'all have been keeping up with my videos. but where I talked about the girl Mariah Huck from Married to Medicine, where all the girls turned against her for whatever reason. Her personality rubbed them the wrong way. And so there was a situation where she was fighting with one of the other girls, Quad, and Quad lied on her and basically said she was doing coke or whatever. And so she went to a very reputable drug testing facility, the facility where they send NBA players to go get tested and athletes to go get tested. She got tested and passed the test with flying colors. You know, those doctors refused to open the drug test and validate the fact that she was telling the truth just because it was her and they didn't like her. That's what's going on with me right now in this situation. I just want you to know, in every situation right now with my targeting, everything that I say, they can know. I could show them freaking evidence. I could lay it out perfectly for them to read and understand. They're still going to go in the opposite direction because it's me. It's the Mariah Huck syndrome. So that's what's going on with this situation as well. Unfortunately, they'd even support a predator because they don't like me as a person. Anyway, let me finish what I'm saying though. So anyways, my drinking started in Tallahassee, in Florida, in my early 20s, right? When the situation with my ex happened. I didn't become a blackout drunk until I came home. You know, a lot more stuff happened. You know, in addition to what had happened in Florida, more stuff happened when I came home. And that led to me becoming a blackout drunk. You know, at the end of the day, you know, I could blame it on this and blame it on that, but it was my decision. I chose to drink and get wasted. It was me, right? I made those decisions and I've taken accountability in every video that I've talked about. But I'm just letting you know what was going on in my life that influenced my decision to do what I did, but I made the decision. So anyway, when I got home, I was a blackout drunk. I became a blackout drunk. The drinking was no longer just something I was doing as like a functioning thing. It became something like necessity. I was drinking hardcore, the hard stuff, like blacking out, to the point where I had to go to rehab. It was that bad. You know, I was in rehab because I was drinking that bad when I came home. And it was 2 years of that type of drinking, being a blackout drunk. That lasted for 2 years. You know, I cleaned myself up, got my life together. I told you I went back to school, graduated magna cum laude, blah, 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 taught for 2 years, you know, was even offered a teaching job, da, da, da. The reason I feel like saying that, y'all, is because they keep harping on those 2 years when I was a blackout drunk, when I turned my life around completely and did so well for myself. But because they don't like me and I'm now targeted, they want to hone in on that dark time in my life. And that's how it works when you're targeted. Eric Snowden talks about it. He said, be careful when you're targeted. He said, buckle up because they're going to do research and they're going to malign you. They're going to smear your name. So it really sucks that I have that past as a drunk, those 2 years. And that's something that they can use. But anyways, so when I came home, I did become a blackout drunk when I came home, you know, to the point where I literally had to go to rehab. And so I do remember that one of these days at rehab, I ended up, you know, coming back to my cousin's house and hanging out with him and his girlfriend and their friends, and that same guy was there. He was there often. And I remembered I was hanging out with them and stuff, and, you know, I got really wasted. You know, the kind of wasted where it's like the white cheap vodka that you get out of the store. That's the type of drinking I was doing in that time in my life. Like the harsh stuff, the hard stuff. And so I remember blacking out, y'all. I like completely blacked out. I woke up feeling really funny. You know, the next day I didn't even know how I got home. I could not even remember. That was the worst blackout I had ever had. You know, I always blacked out around people I trusted. So there was never a risk of rape in my head. I never thought that somebody would do something because I was always around people I trusted. Like literally my cousin was there and his girlfriend, and we were cool, right? So I'm like, they're never gonna let nothing happen to me. So I'm just drinking recklessly, like getting wasted, like really wasted, feeling like I'm safe, like nothing's gonna happen to me. My cousin's here, his girlfriend, that's my homegirl. I'm like, I'm good, you know. And I was hanging with them at the time, and so I remember just getting really wasted. Like I black out. Like this was one of those times where it was the worst of the worst. Like literally woke up the next day and didn't even remember how I got from point A to point B. Like I went to sleep one place or blacked out in one place and woke up at my house. And so I woke up at my house feeling really weird. I'm like, I know something ain't right. Like, first of all, my body felt weird. Like my body felt sore. My whole body felt like somebody had beat me up. But then also, too, you know, that area felt really funny. Like, it just felt, you know, it's not like I was feeling pain. I wasn't feeling pain, but it felt, you know, as a woman, when something happens, man, you know your body. Like, you know when something's going on. And it didn't feel right. Something didn't feel right. It didn't feel right at all, you know. And this is why I said they're so, like, evil, man. You're gonna tease somebody about getting raped? They're flying the freaking drone in my face and stuff. Like, that's evil, man. And so I'm just feeling like this weird feeling, like, just really weird down there, y'all. Like, I just knew something wasn't right. And at that time, I had only had sex with one man before, like my ex. So I had never had sexual intercourse with anyone else. And with him, with my ex, I always used protection because I'm such a paranoid person. Like, I never, ever let him do anything with me without protection because I'm such a paranoid person. And so for me, I was just like, this is a very weird feeling. I was like, this feels, similar to like that feeling, but like, like I'm feeling extra stuff going on down there. I'm like, this is weird. It was just a weird feeling. It's awkward to talk about. It was just feeling very weird. I'm like, what is going on? I was like, something weird happened. And I start to freak out because I'm a hypochondriac, y'all. I'm very paranoid, like I always have been since high school. Just paranoid about illnesses and diseases. And, my sisters even used to laugh at me because I was so anal about using condoms and stuff. And they're not necessarily like that. Like, not to say they're not safe. They are safe, but not like the kind of paranoid I am where I could, like, literally be with someone I trust and I'm still making them wear, like, you don't understand, like, paranoid. And so I'm just, like, freaking out. I'm like, oh, my God, down there is feeling strange. I don't remember how I got home. I'm like, I was with my cousin, though. Why would something happen? Why would he let something happen? I'm like, no way. I'm like, something didn't happen. No way. I'm just freaking out, right? So I remember calling my cousin and his girlfriend and just kind of like questioning them about what happened, trying to figure out what happened because I'm like, I'm feeling funny. And they're like, trying to reassure me that nothing happened. I just got really drunk and they had to take me home. And I'm telling my mom, I think something happened. I'm feeling funny. I think something happened. And she's telling me that nothing happened. She's telling me I would know, right? She's explaining to me, my finger. Now they're flying in my face, trying to gaslight me. I'm telling y'all something happened because I remember. So they could fly in the face and gaslight all they want. I don't know what they're trying to come with. Something did happen. I remembered. That's the crazy thing about it. And I've never had that happen before where I blacked out and I couldn't remember. And then I was relayed what happened and then I remembered what I was told. This kind of way, it was weird. Years later when I was told the events, I'm going to get to it in a minute, right? So anyways, I for the life of me could not remember anything. I'm just sitting there trying to remember. It was just a blank space. It was just black. Like I could not remember what happened. All I remembered was going there with the bottle of white vodka and then waking up the next day. I'm like, what the hell happened? And my cousin explained to me that I was just acting really crazy. And he ended up having to kind of like constrain me as what he was explaining, right? But then when I remember what really happened, I do remember that him and I we had like a tussle. And he ended up like kind of slamming me into the wall, and this is why my body was hurting. But why down yonder was feeling funny was because of the other guy, right? So anyways, I'm like calling my cousin and the girlfriend, I'm just his girlfriend, and trying to ask them questions. Like I'm asking them, like desperately asking them questions and freaking out, trying to figure out what happened because I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know who's who. Like a lot of dudes were there. I'm like, what the fuck, and it wasn't just dudes too. It was girls too. All my cousin's friends. It was like this little back house, and all of them were there. And I had never been in a situation like that where I got so drunk that anybody could have done anything, and I don't know who did what. I'd never been in that situation because when I was getting drunk in those years, always getting wasted around people I trusted that would look out for me, that wouldn't let nothing happen to me. So I felt safe. They make it this kind of way like I don't trust people. But if I really know a person and I trust them, like trust you with my life, like to the point where, because that's your life you're playing with there, where people can do stuff with you and not use condom and stuff. Like anytime I got blackout drunk like that, always around people I trusted. And so although my cousin kind of hung with a rough crowd and he kind of had some stuff going on in his life, I still trusted him. He's like a big brother to me. So I'm like, I'm getting drunk around him. I know he's not going to let nothing happen to me. And this is why I used to get wasted the way I did around him, because I always felt like I would be safe. I didn't feel like anything would happen to me. So anyway, I got really wasted around him, really blackout drunk. That day in particular, to me, this was the worst blackout I had ever had. Like to date, this was the worst blackout I had ever had in my life. Anyway, so I woke up just feeling really funny and like just having this really bad feeling about the whole thing, but can't remember what happened. And so just getting this reassurance from my cousin, his girlfriend, that nothing happened. And then the dude called. I didn't call him. He randomly called the house, right? And he asks him, Mommy, you can speak to me. And he's just asking me if I remember what happened. He said, you don't remember what happened? I said, no. I said, I can't remember. I said, did anything happen? I kept asking him, did anything happen? I literally straight up asked him if I had done anything. And he was telling me no. He's like, no. He said, you just got really drunk. And he said, I was just trying to get the liquor for you. He was like basically telling me that I had gotten a tussle with my cousin. He had felt so bad for me that he was trying to get the liquor for me. Basically, like I was fighting for the bottle of liquor, and he was trying to like help me keep the bottle, and my cousin was trying to take it from me. And my cousin ended up taking it and throwing it on the roof. And so to me, I'm just thinking to myself, I don't know if you're telling me you were trying to get the bottle to me, like you feel like that's gonna make me like you more or something. To me, it was making my skin crawl, because I'm like, you're showing me that you're a creep, because why were you trying to get me the bottle? Like, if I was blackout drunk like that, why wouldn't you be trying to get the bottle from me too? It's how I was feeling about it. So all of that was just not sitting right with me. Then he starts telling me that he loves me, you know, weird stuff. Like, he's telling me he loves me. I'm like, why is he saying that? Like, him and I never talked in that way. Like, we never had a relationship. We never had a flirtationship. You know, he's just somebody like I kind of know. I don't even really know him like that. He's more so in cahoots with my cousin. And so I'm like, he's saying all of this. I'm like, okay, I'm really starting to get the creeps, you know, about it. And it's just the way he kept asking me if I remember what happened. And I could not remember what happened. I couldn't remember. I'm like, no, I can't remember. I can't remember. He's like, you really can't remember? I said, no, I really can't remember. I said, could you please tell me what happened? And he's not, you know, he's not being forthcoming with everything that happened. He was not telling me that we did stuff. He wasn't telling me. And so I'm like, okay, I just let my mom get in my head and let him get in my head and then let my cousin get in my head and let them reassure me that nothing happened. I was like, okay, well, I would know. I'm like, I only had, you know, intercourse with one dude in my life. I would think if somebody did something with me, I would know what it felt like. I would be in pain. You know, my mom was even saying that. She said, trust me. She said, if somebody raped you, you would be hurting. She said, you would be in pain. Trust me. So I'm just taking her word for it. I'm like, okay, well, maybe down there it's just like that because I got so drunk. Because that could happen sometimes too, you know, like not to TMI, but like, you know, that, you know, drinking just does that. Like, it can mess you up. So I was like, maybe that's just what's going on. You know, some sort of like hormonal reaction to all the liquor or whatever. Because that was harsh liquor. That was vodka, the white kind too, that like really messes your body up. So I was like, okay, well, maybe that's what's going on. I'm just being paranoid. Even though I knew down there was feeling funny, you know. It was like denial. I was just like, okay, let me just go with it. You know, I'm like, okay, let me just, you know, whatever. So like 2 years pass and Hurricane Irma starts to happen. And we're walking through the neighborhoods and stuff and the island gets messed up. So we're all walking in the streets and stuff and hanging out in the streets. And so as we're walking in the streets and stuff and hanging out, my younger sister kind of started dating this dude in the neighborhood. And he was good friends with not really with my cousin per se. He knew my cousin, but he was more so good friends with that dude that was friends with my cousin. You know, all dudes that live in that same neighborhood. And so he knew my cousin, he knew that dude really good. And so while my sister's dating him, she's walking all through the streets with him. And I was hanging out with them sometimes too, but not all the time. You know, sometimes I'll go to the house and you know, this kind of thing, like I hang out with them. Sometimes I just be home. And so this day in question, she's walking in the neighborhood with him and they ended up walking by the dude's house. And I guess the dude saw my sister walking with him and thought she was me. So he goes back and he tells the dude, you dating that girl? He's told the dude he did all of this and that to me, telling the dude all the stuff he did to me, right? And so apparently the dude went back to my sister and told my sister what he said. And so my sister came back to me and was kind of relaying the details to me. And I started to remember everything. I started to really freak out. I was like, wait a minute. Whoa. I actually remember waking up. It was the weirdest thing that happened to me because I could not remember. I remember when I was telling my mom about the situation and I was feeling really scared and terrified. I remember like I could not get my brain to open and remember what happened. It would not open. And when she's telling me the details, I started to remember everything. I was like, oh shit. You know, I started to like shit my pants too because I was like, this nigga did not wear a condom. I was like, oh shit. Because I remembered waking up and I remembered him sitting up. Like I remembered him doing stuff. I woke up with him doing stuff and it was hurting. It was burning. And I remember telling him stop and he kept going until it was done, right? Until I felt him do whatever. And I felt that too. I had never felt that feeling before. I remembered him getting up off me. I remembered sitting up and I remembered like freaking out that the fact that I woke up and he was doing that. And then I remember him leaning over and whispering something to me to freak me out because I started cussing him out and asking him if he had something. I was really cussing him out too. And so then I remembered him leaning over and telling me something fast, right? And I remember grabbing the bottle of vodka and drinking more and just freaking out and drinking more. And I remember my cousin coming in and grabbing the bottle from me. We're wrestling with the bottle, for the bottle of vodka. And basically my cousin got so mad that he ended up grabbing me and throwing me into the wall. I don't know where he came from. Like, where were you when the guy was doing whatever, right? I don't want to blame him. Maybe he was out there having an ADD moment or something like that, because my cousin, has ADHD. I have ADD and he has ADHD, where he's hopping all over the place and, one of those really busybody type of dudes. So I'm like, where the hell were you? Because I'm like, we're right here in this little back room. You heard me here drinking more, but you didn't hear him doing whatever. I'm like, where were you is how I felt. But at the same time, I can't blame you because I'm a grown adult and I shouldn't have gotten that drunk. You're not my babysitter. But I just felt like I was safe. I felt like getting drunk around him, nothing was going to happen because I had done it before and I grew up around him. He was like a big brother to me. So I felt like I was safe. So I remember him and I wrestling for the bottle, him throwing it on the roof and then just getting really mad and throwing me into the wall. Like, he threw my whole body into the wall. I remember I fell on the floor. And then the dude came out and kind of was trying to wrestle with him. And he ended up punching the dude in the mouth. And then I remember just kind of blacking out from there and not remembering anything else. And I remember coming to again and him pouring hose water on me. And then sticking his finger down my throat and making me throw up. And then I blacked out. And I can't remember anything else. Can't remember anything else. But I remember that vividly, so clearly. I remember all of that so clearly. So I know the dude did stuff. And so I was just like, oh my God. I was like, now I remember freaking out. Then I started crying because I'm like, oh my God, then that means this guy did stuff with me without a condom. I didn't really know about his physical health like that. And I had already kind of heard scary stuff about him from my cousin's girlfriend. The fact that he's kind of one of those don't care kind of dudes when it comes to sex. And so I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I've been protecting myself for years. It was to the point where even with my ex, who I actually totally trusted, I would not even let him not use the condom. He tried many times. I'm like, and then just this one moment where I got drunk around this person that I trusted, this dude just had the opportunity to do whatever. I'm like, I was so mad. Like, I wanted to knock his block off. Like, you don't understand. I went to his house to beat him up because he's a skinny kind of dude too. Even though he's taller than me, he's like skinny, and I just felt like I was going to beat his ass. Like, I was going to beat him. And so I remember we went to his house, my brothers, my sister and myself and my mom. I remember we pulled up at his house and we were all going to beat his ass and we were all cussing him out. And he came out with his mother and he started swearing up and down that he didn't do anything and he didn't say that, and basically calling my sister's boyfriend a liar. Why would he lie and make up that stuff? And why would the story fit so perfectly with what happened? How would he know what happened that day? He wasn't lying. And I remembered everything too. Once he said what he said, I remembered the details of waking up with him on top of me. And so it's just like, we were ready to beat him. We even made a police report about it. And so I remember we're there cussing him stink. And he's out there like, acting like a freaking timid rat, acting like he didn't do nothing. Like, oh, I didn't do anything. He's just like saying that the dude was lying basically. And eventually my brothers got so hyped, he ran inside and he got a bat or a stick or something like that to defend himself because my brothers are big and could have beaten him. He brought the stick out and he was swinging the stick so much he ended up hitting his mom's head and busting his mom's head, and his mom started bleeding. It was a really crazy day, man. And eventually we just got in our car and we left. We just left him. We didn't beat him. We were going to beat him. So then I remember now, shortly after that, I remember going on Facebook and we all saw this video, right? This is why I'm saying they're supporting a predator. They're flying in my face when I said he was an Irie Rasta dude. They just want to support him because it's me, right? This is not the first time he did it. Who knows how many times he's done this? Right? I remember going on Facebook, my sisters and we saw that my cousin's girlfriend had put up this post with this girl that she was good friends with, right? This slim Spanish girl, right? Very slender, kind of slim kind of girl. Looks like somebody else he could have taken advantage of. And she was there talking about the fact that they were both trying to beat him up. Both of them too were trying to beat him up, right? And so apparently it was this big beef going on because she too blacked out. And she claimed she felt like he did stuff with her. And so she was claiming she felt like he did stuff with her, the Spanish girl, right? And so my sisters and I were like, whoa, wait a minute, he did this again? We're looking at the video and we were also freaking out too because my cousin's girlfriend was talking about the fact that her daughter was in the the stroller, trying to hit him too. And we were just kind of freaking out like that. She was fighting him with the baby in the stroller, we're kind of concerned. But she was a young mother, so immature and not really knowing better and stuff. Very young mother. So we weren't really like getting on her like that, but we were just concerned about that. But more so focusing on the fact that this dude did this again. It can't be a coincidence that there's two girls that are saying that they felt like this happened to them. right? So this girl was talking about the fact that she woke up and felt like something had happened. And my cousin's girlfriend was trying to reassure her, like she tried to reassure me, that no, nothing happened. He didn't do anything. It's this thing with her where I don't know why she keeps protecting him. I don't know what it is with her. But she keeps like protecting. I don't know what's going on with that, where she's protecting him. But she was like, no, I wouldn't let him do nothing, man. Nothing happened. And the girl was like, you sure? You know, and she was looking like she felt, and she said, I don't think anything happened. This is what she's saying. She don't think anything happened. And the girl was freaking out because she felt like the dude had done something to her. And I remembered her just saying she felt weird. Same thing like me. I feel like this is something he does. It's like this is how he, you know, like go around to parties and let girls get drunk and then do stuff with them. Anyway, so the girl was freaking out too, you know, and apparently they were trying to beat him. So anyway, this is just like evidence that this is something that he obviously does. God knows how many times, and he's not being watched with mosquito drones. He's not being harassed. In fact, it seems like they're supporting him because they were flying the mosquito around when I said he seemed like an Irie Rasta man. But yet doing this to me because what? You think I'm a bitch? Like, really? What about actual threat containment, what the program's supposed to be designed for? Why aren't you containing him? Who knows how many other girls he's done this to? It baffles me every time, this program, y'all. And this is why I was like, I gotta talk about this. When he kept adding me on Facebook and they kept flying in my face, and every time I'm riding my bike in the neighborhood and I ride by his mom's house, they're flying the bird by. I'm like, it seems like they're in full support of this dude and I need to talk about this. I was like, let me talk about this because it's really bothering me. I was like, I need to talk about this in my video. It was really bothering me. Moving on to the next thing, y'all. Oh, there's so much more to talk about. Let me see how long the video is, y'all. Damn, almost like 3 hours and 7 minutes. Let me hurry up and thing up this video, y'all, because you know, it's too long. I'm gonna have to skip some of the stuff that I wrote to talk about because it's too long of a video. I'm really just want to talk about this incident, this thing that happened with this guy out here while I was working, because I really want to talk about that. Excuse me, I'm just mad the video's so damn long. You know, it's hard to for that long and listen, but I've had people doing it. You know, I've had fellow targets do it and leave me feedback, and I appreciate it. So this is another thing I want to talk about that happened, y'all. Basically, this guy that comes out here, from what I understand now, it seems to me like he might be a gang stalker, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Not always are gang stalkers bad or not necessarily or having bad intentions to harass and malign you. Sometimes gang stalkers are put there to show you something. Like sometimes they'll do that. Like they'll have a gang stalker come by and like how, like, let's say like for me, for instance, let me give you an example. Like how in my car in Florida, I sat there and I shared offensive Hebrew Israelite propaganda and I said negative things of people of other races. Sometimes they'll send out a gang stalker to show that you can get along with another race. So like, let's say they'll send out like a black gang stalker and a Spanish gang stalker or a white gang stalker, and they're both having dinner together or lunch together in front of you to show you camaraderie with different races, that type of thing. That happens sometimes. It's not always negative with the gang stalking, but oftentimes it is. So with this gang stalker in particular, I've seen him on island my whole life, to be quite real with you. I've seen him kind of like sitting by this house near the neighborhood I live in and stuff. You know, like I grew up on this island. So like a lot of the people I have seen around my whole life that I'm now kind of having this interaction with in my gang stalking, I've seen them before. And so this guy I've seen my whole life on island, just kind of in passing, you know. So he started coming out here on, I think it's Saturday nights when I work with one of my other co-workers of a different race, right? And so he comes out and basically he and this coworker had like this friendship that they build, and sometimes he'll bring lunch or dinner or whatever and they'll eat together and I'll see the camaraderie ship. And so I understood there that likely they were trying to show me camaraderie ship between different races, which you don't have to show me. You know, I keep trying to say that I'm not whether they believe it or not, I don't care. I'm tired of sitting on the soapbox trying to explain this. I said what I said out of anger, similar to what happened to me in my early 20s with the cyberbullying situation. I have a bad tendency of saying mean things when I'm upset and when I feel like people are coming for me. And so whatever that is, and whoever is the victim of my words, that's what it is at the moment. And that's kind of what it was with the race thing. I'm not a prejudiced person. I was dating a white man. I don't know how many times I have to say this, from Colombia, right before my targeting. He lived with me. Why would I live with a white man if I were prejudiced? Does that make sense? Why would he be living in my bed with me, in my room with me? Does that make sense? So anyways, it's really just, again, this thing where I'm loose with my words when I'm upset, and it's been a detriment to me. So they feel the need to show me, wait a minute, this has my information written on it. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm seeing something what my info written on it. Anyway, they feel the need to show me sometimes camaraderie of people with different races. And so I don't get upset about it because I know what I shared in my car in Florida. So, I mean, I understand why they would have that warped perception. That's one of the warped perceptions I actually understand. Some of the other ones, it's just like, I don't get it. It's crazy to me. And then that one I get, you know? So I'm just like, okay. So they have him come out on the Saturday night and, you know, he eats sometimes dinner with my coworker. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I didn't mind that happening. And so I just kind of watch it. I see it. I say goodnight. I'm always mannerful to him and I just go about my business. I go in my little corner. I come in, I sign in, grab my keys, I say goodnight, and I go into my little corner. I park up in my little corner where I go, right? He never comes out on any other night. It's always on Saturday night with that coworker in particular. All of a sudden, I noticed the other night they had him come out, right? This was on a different night now, which was different to what I'm used to seeing with him, right? So they had him come out with this different coworker who seems to have, I don't want to go into details about it now, guys, and create something again, you know, because I've talked about this coworker in a prior video and it kind of, you know, created this weird thing for me, and I don't want to create more with that situation. But it just seems to be like this kind of like unspoken tension kind of thing. It's odd with this coworker, and he has these conversations with innuendo in it with me. I don't know. I think he thinks I'm stuck up or something, but it's just this thing with this coworker that I don't want to go into details with. But this night he came out with that coworker instead. And I noticed that he sat there outside of the office because I was parked up by the internet spot. I had put my phone down. I was letting some things download and I was sitting in my car. And I noticed he sat on the stoop outside of the office, the security office, with that coworker, the one that seems to have like some sort of slight tension with me, nothing major. I don't want to create anything. He sat there with him and they were talking and the conversation was full of innuendos and stuff. I'm like, what is going on? I said, how come he's out here tonight and this kind of conversation is happening? I was just kind of wondering about it. I was like, I don't know what caused it. You know, I don't know what was done, what I said or did now to offend that created this. Him coming out on this different night, which was different to what I was used to seeing, and sitting there purposely having this conversation with this coworker that kind of seems to have detention with me, or it seems like he has a problem with me, like he just thinks I'm stuck up or whatever it is, you know, keeps having these conversations with innuendo and stuff. I just didn't understand. I didn't understand that. So it just seemed like, good morning. I'm good. How you doing? I'm sorry about that, guys. I just had a coworker walking by and I was just saying good morning. So he just was sitting there with him and it was just like these conversations that seemed filled with innuendos is what it seemed like. So I just was kind of wondering, why did they do this? You know, like sometimes when things happen, I try to figure out why it happened. You know, I try to think about what did I do to cause this? Because sometimes it seems unprovoked. Like the gym thing, for instance. Remember earlier in the video, I don't know if y'all remember, hours ago, you know, because at this point now it's 3 hours that I've been talking. You know, the gym thing, it was just random, unprovoked. The taxi thing that kind of started happening, it felt like that was what was happening just then with this guy where he was sitting with this coworker and they're having that conversation. Because I hadn't been disrespectful to this coworker that I said feels like he doesn't, like he thinks I'm stuck up or whatever, and he keeps having these conversations with innuendos in it, and like it seems low-key has a problem with me. I hadn't had any weird moments with him. You know, we're just cordial to each other and we keep it moving. So I just didn't really understand what that was about. But they put him out there, or he went out there on his own accord, whatever it was, and having this conversation with innuendo in it. So I was just like, I was like, okay. And I was like, I'm not taking to it. It's not a big deal, whatever. I just went and I got my phone and I went and I parked up in my little corner and I just decided that I was going to ignore that little moment there that happened because I didn't understand it. But I was like, okay, you know, I'm used to things that I don't understand happening, right? So then I'm sitting there and, you know, what I was watching basically was full of shadow networking. And I didn't like what I downloaded. I was like, let me go back to the internet spot and see if I could download something else. But I remember thinking in my head, what did I think in my head? I can't remember. I didn't think anything bad. I didn't think anything bad. I just said, let me go and download more stuff. So when I went to go download the more stuff, I realized he was sitting right in the internet spot where they know that I go to get internet. And anytime they want to like malign me, or let me not even use the word malign. Anytime they want to like, it almost seems like antagonize me, they'll put a gang stalker, not him though. This is what was different. They'll put a gang stalker, one of the ones that I'm used to seeing, very near to the internet spot. One time they actually had one sitting right across from the internet spot where I sit. But typically they'll have them sitting like in the chairs near the internet spot just to make me uncomfortable. But I noticed he was sitting right in the internet spot, right at the spot where he knows I sit down to get internet. So I'm like, what is going on tonight? I was like, why are they doing this? I'm like, what did I do? That's all I could think in my head. I'm like, I'm definitely not about to come out the car. I heard him just sitting there with my coworkers saying a conversation with innuendo in it. I'm more than aware that they're staring at me. They know I'm awkward. I just made that video, y'all. That's called Awkward Interaction. What is it? Awkward Interactions and Sincere Apology, where I was talking about the fact that everyday, day-to-day interactions always feel disingenuous, even whether it's the person that's interacting with me or my own interaction, because of the fact that they're staring at me and they're judging me and they don't like me, a lot of them. I'm just like, it constantly feels disingenuous and uncomfortable for me, especially with me being this awkward person anyway. I've always been awkward. I've always been introverted. I've always had social anxiety. I've always been bad at small talk. That's been me since my early 20s. It was to the point where in my early 20s, I was telling my mom, I think I have Asperger's. And it took years of me practicing to get good at actually conversing with people to the point where I could function, right? And teach and all these different things. But I suck at small talk. I suck at talking to people I don't know like that. If it's on a business level, cool. But when it comes to camaraderie ship and things like that, it's not like I'm this stuck up person where I don't want to interact with you and I'm better than you. It's not that. It's literally that I'm introverted, I'm shy, and I'm awkward, and I suck at small talk. And so I've always been bad at it. And then now to be in this vicarious situation where I'm targeted and I have all these people watching me and judging me, it's a nightmare. I hate these little small conversations where I'm being watched and they're roughing by and waiting for me to say the wrong thing. It's a nightmare. I'd rather just isolate and stay to myself is how it feels. And I don't understand why that wouldn't be understood. Much less for someone to sit there that was literally just sitting there with my coworkers saying stuff with innuendos in it. Of course I didn't want to come out the car. So I was just like, and also too, I noticed that this was a different pattern for him because I was used to only seeing him on Saturday nights with that other coworker. So I was like, this is something that's being done because I don't know why. Really, I couldn't figure it out. I didn't understand why it was being done. I didn't know. I could not figure it out. So I was just sitting there trying to figure, out why this was happening. But I was like, I'm not coming out the car, definitely not. Instead, I just went back and I parked up and I decided to just keep watching what I was watching that had the shadow networking going on. But in my head, I was like, I need to talk about this. I was like, I need to make a video about this because they started flying the mosquito drone in my face and it started turning into this thing because I didn't want to come out and sit by him and talk to him. And they started kind of turning it into this thing, right? So I'm like, they're trying to punish me for not wanting to come out and sit by someone who's clearly gang stalking, no disrespect. But it seems like gang stalking because he was literally just sitting in front of the office talking to my other coworker with conversation full of stimuli in it. And now he's sitting in the internet spot where they know I go there to get internet. He doesn't normally come out on this night. And they're getting mad at me for not wanting to come out and have conversation while everyone stares at me and rubs by. Like, I didn't understand that. So I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, what is this? And why are they doing this? And so I was like, I need to talk about this in my video. And I had made a note to do it. I said, when I get my phone, I'm going to talk about it. And then several times I noticed now it turned into this thing because of me not coming out, where he's coming out like every night when I'm at work and they're having him by the internet spot in this kind of way, right? And so this one night in particular, when I didn't have the car that night, something was going on where it needed an oil change. It still needs the oil change, but that night in particular, I didn't take it. I took my bike and I rode to work. I noticed when I got there to the internet spot, he was sitting there. The internet wasn't working, like they cut it off. And he was sitting not in the exact spot where I get internet, but he was sitting in the vicinity. And so he said goodnight to me. And so I said goodnight because he's an elder, not totally elder. Like, it's not like an old person, like my grandpa's age, but he's an older person. Looks like maybe my parents' age or maybe a little bit younger, like 50s, that type of thing. So somebody that's an elder to me. So I would be respectful regardless of whether you're a gang stalker or not. And this is how I always am with the gang stalkers. Even if it's obvious gang stalking, I'm always saying goodnight. I'm always respectful as long as they're not getting rowdy and telling me rowdy stuff. I'm always respectful. So he said goodnight to me. I said goodnight, because I'm like going to tell you I'm not going to not say goodnight, even if I can clearly tell this is gang stalking. So I told him goodnight. And he said, what? I forgot what he said. Scanton. He said, you scanton bad or something like that. He said to me. Obviously, it was island slang, and I didn't really know that terminology. I'm familiar with the slang, y'all. I grew up here. But I had never heard that before, the scanton bad. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if it was bad or not, if it was derogatory or not. But the way he said it sounded friendly. So I was like, yeah, man. I just, just to, answer back. I didn't want to not answer. I said, yeah, man, even though I didn't really know what it meant. And so then I just sat there and I continued to look through trying to get connected to the internet. My coworker, the same one that he had been sitting outside with the other night, that kind of seems to have like this problem with me, pulls up, or I don't want to create something and say this, even though that's what it seems like, you know, because of the conversations he has with me. I don't really want to create something in these videos, but it seems to be some sort of slight tension there. That coworker pulls up next to him and they start having this conversation about, you never know when it's going to be a last moment. And, you know, the freaky, creepy, gnarly, not freaky, but the creepy, gnarly kind of stuff that I told you they started pushing at me this last month, recently. You know, I'm just talking about, you never know when you're going to have your last breath and that type of creepy stuff like that. You know, and so I just was like, I started in my head saying, I plead the blood of Yeshua, because I didn't even understand what created this in the first place. I didn't even know what created them doing this gang stalking tactic with this guy. I didn't really know what created it to begin with. And so I was just sitting there just saying, I plead the blood of Yeshua on me in my head, because again, it just felt like unprovoked. It felt like an unprovoked attack again. And so I'm just like, constantly it's happening for no reason. I cannot figure it out. And then I'm not good with puzzles. I'm not good with riddles. I'm not good with hints, like what they like to do with this program. I'm a very straightforward, straight thinking type of person. And this beat around the bush hinting stuff, I'm not good at it. I never have been. I just need you to straight up tell me what's going on, because I'm confused. And so I just start pleading the blood of Yeshua on me when they start talking about that scary stuff. I'm like, for no reason, you know, I'm like, what is this? I start pleading the blood of Yeshua on me. And eventually my coworker just drove off after I started doing that. And I sat there. I realized I couldn't get internet. I rode my bike around the shopping center and I found another area where I could get internet. And then I got back to the office. And when I'm at the office and I noticed he was outside the office now, laying down near the office. He had moved closer to the office. Now he's laying down. And so he asked me if he could get some water. So I said, sure, no problem. I said, come here, come in. So I opened the office and I let him get some water right in his cup. He went back outside. I closed the door and that was it, you know. And then I just noticed now recently, like several times I have seen him in these recent nights, like when I just get on shift, sitting near the internet spot. And so I'm like, what is the lesson here now? Because I don't understand why they would be upset that I didn't want to go outside and sit and have a conversation with him when I just heard him sitting outside the office with my coworker saying conversation with innuendo in it. I'm socially awkward, always have been. I'm being stared at by all these people who constantly rev by when I'm having conversations anyways. And you expected me to come out and sit there and have a conversation, a socially awkward, forced conversation, while all these people are watching and revving by like a movie. Like, what is going? It's like these forced, awkward interactions, and you get punished when you avoid the forced, awkward interaction is what it feels like. And then I'm a bitch for saying that, but what I'm saying is real, and they know what I'm saying is real. And that's what's going on. And so I felt like I had to document. I was like, this looked like something else they're going to start punishing me for. I'm like, what? You know, what caused it in the first place? You know, because typically when I see that guy, when he's out here on the night he usually is out here for, I'm always mannerful to him. I always say goodnight, and I just go about my business. I grab my keys and I go about my business. That's it. I don't really understand what the problem is. And look, they're flying the flyby when I said that. I think they're punishing me for being socially awkward and being an introvert. I'm not going to change and morph into this extroverted somebody that talks to everyone person because I'm targeted. That's crazy to expect that. I'm not going to morph into this conversational social butterfly because I'm targeted. That's crazy to expect that. I've never been that way. So why would you expect that now that I'm targeting and all these people are watching? Targeted and all these people are watching. What is really going on? Anyway, so that's what's going on, y'all. It seems like I'm just getting punished for being me. That's pretty much what's going on in this program. I'm getting punished for being me. And I really had to talk about that. I was like, I did not understand that. Anyway, yeah, that's it. I'm 3 hours, 24 minutes in, but I got to talk about everything I wanted to talk about. That's crazy. Long ass video. But I've been meaning to make it, y'all. It's like when I get my phone, there's all these different things I need to talk about. And so I talked about long ass video, y'all. But I talked about everything. I felt like I addressed everything I need.